Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, yeah, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup, though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup, though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to PSGL. We have returned here, and I tell you what, we speak of legendary moments. We could have a series of legendary moments here in the closing stages of this grandiose championship. A lot on the line, but we're now looking to deal yet another blow, this time tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. What a pleasure it is to be here as well. A four-way championship swing here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, just on the edge of the Stavelot forests, the Ardennes forests as well, should I say. Can't wait for this one. And joining me, George Morgan, is Jack Kinnan. Once again, the pairing in the commentary box, Jack. We are in for a real treat tonight.
Oh, we are indeed. We had an incredible race at Imola. Lucas Blakely coming out with his second victory of the season and bringing himself into title contention. He wasn't in it up until last week, and now he's firmly in it. 4 championship contenders with a couple of rounds left to go. This is looking to be fantastic. And, well, there's no delay with us tonight because, well, we had a small delay, obviously, before coming in here. But no delay with the lobby so far. We are into Q1, just green light has just come on at the end of the pit lane, so we'll be getting over there very shortly. But this is set to be an incredible title finale, but Lucas Blakely dragging himself into contention out of seemingly nowhere.
He is, and like we said, we talk about four-way fights. Obviously, look at Brendan Lee, who's obviously returning as a former F1 Esports champion. Hasn't been champion since 2018, folks, in F1 Esports, but still has hung in there. And one of the OGs as well of the F1 game too. So I'm really, really keen to see how he gets on because there's a lot on the line tonight. The championship story could very easily swing altogether this weekend, Jack, because of course, we look at someone like Jarno Watmir, for example, hasn't won a race this season, yet he has still put himself in a position where he's second in the championship. A good result tonight and a bad one for Barry could mean that Jarno leads his championship.
Yeah, could very well happen. Barry, of course, it was knocked out in Q2 last week and ended up facing backwards in the first corner. Didn't end up scoring any points last week. So that's how quickly things can change. He's going to be looking for a redemption this week, of course. So let's not count out Barry after that first corner contact. But as well, you know, Brendan Lee is in this as well. He's been consistently scoring podiums throughout the season. He's got a win under his belt. He's only 12 points off of the championship lead at the moment. And only 4 points behind Jarno in the championship. 2 points behind him is Lucas Blakely on 48 points. He's now dragged himself into contention. So it's a total of 14 points between the top 4. The championship points work slightly differently in PSGL. It's 16 points for a win, 12 for second and 10 for third. So not quite a race win clear, but Barry still has a decent lead. So barring a disaster, which of course happened last week, he still has a good shot at this, but he absolutely needs a good result. And historically, really, if we go back, I'm going all the way back to season 27 for when he was on his winning streak, it came undone right here when he ultimately got a drive-through penalty, and that was the first time he didn't win a race that season. So Spa historically has not been good to Barry Boremand.
No, it hasn't. It's actually been really poor. I mean, I'm looking at Jarno's record himself. A former winner here back in season 29. Also finished P2 in the very first season, season 27. So he'll have a great chance, indeed, to continue his great run here. Another man who has recent form here at this track, Lucas Blakely. Jack, obviously going back to season 31. Brendan Lee came third in that same race that season as well, behind Danny Berejne. And Blakely, of course, coming third back in season 29. The same season Jarno would win the race here too. And then, of course, second, as I said before, for Jarno in season 27. But absolutely incredible. The last race in Spa was iconic as well, Jack, for a whole different reason. Istvan Pukki taking the win last time. Duncan Hoffland finishing in P2. And I have to tell you, the main protagonist of that story was Cameron Dowds. I mean, that P3 was truly unbelievable. Shame he isn't here with us because, of course, we are pretty much back to PC Tier 1 grids. But when Cameron Dowds took the helm in that PCF1 race that he guest appeared in pretty much, he was sensational.
Yeah, it really was. Of course, Cameron is in PCF3 now, I believe. So this shows you the feat he pulled off. And I believe he's leading the championship in PCF3. So it was a fantastic race. That was, of course, rain and safety cars mixing all that up. But Istvan Pukki, that was his first ever PCF1 victory and came out of it at the helm of that as well. Duncan Hoffland second, and yeah, Cameron Dowds securing that famous podium. His PCF1 debut, scores a podium, and I don't think he raced again. So he has a perfect record of podiums in PCF1 at the moment. I'm open to correction on that, but it was a fantastic race. So we are guaranteed a different winner, of course, today, because Istvan Pukki not here with us for this race. But of course, last year's pole sitter, probably unsurprisingly, was Thomas Ronnar. It was Barry Boremand versus Thomas Ronnar for the pole position. Ronnar getting the pole. Not by much in the end, but I mean, we've had very, very tight battles for pole over the past couple of races. Last week, it was 7,000ths of a second was all that separated Thomas Ronnar and Nicholas Longate. And then, of course, Longate taking the victory in Japan. and it was, of course, Lucas Blakely taking the victory last week. But did it sort of out of seemingly nowhere, was hung in third the whole way through the race. Ozildirim, who is back with us again, who's put off a stunning performance last week. It was Blakely's overtake that did it for me. It was calculated, it was brave, and it was perfectly timed.
Yeah, and it really does take a driver with those qualities to really mastermind their way around Spa, because it is built so much on precision for the mere reason that there's so much variation. You've got undulation, various different types of corners, fast corners, you've got mid-speed, you've got slow-speed corners as well. Of course, just saw Fabrizio Rosa go to the top with a 1:45.445 on an intermediate lap, just setting his sights embedded certainly into this point of the race. Still yet to see all the other drivers come out. All of them currently awaiting to set their initial times on soft tyres. So Donoso, the only driver to set a valid lap time here so far, and now with 11 minutes and 50, I'm sure we'll await to see many, many more. But certainly Donoso, who I would argue is showing some of his best league racing form, I think, in a long, long time, has certainly been up there and fighting. We've seen the best of him, we've seen the worst of him this season, but I think there is a little bit more promise coming through for the Chilean. Has obviously been part of many teams since all the way back in 2017, where he would take Brendan Lee to task back at Abu Dhabi when they fought for the championship that year, and since then I think struggled to find his feet in certain areas. But now that he is part of the Aston Martin contingent, it gives him a chance to sort of unleash what he is capable of, and being around a team of that calibre as well, with the likes of John Evans, who's quickly run to the forefront as well. He's making a very rare appearance here tonight, and obviously having Simon Weigang there as well is great experience, because he has also been on the F1 esports scene for a long, long time. But the important thing for Aston Martin here, Jack, get themselves embedded, because they've got a lot of work to do to get themselves, should we say, up to speed with the rest of the grid.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of experience, but it's whatever reason, of course, we haven't seen too much of the team in PSGL so far, so we don't really know how that team dynamic is really working out for the moment. I mean, we've seen how good Ferrari work together. We've seen how Alfa Romeo have come through with Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronard this season, both having victories. So the team dynamic there, fantastic. We're seeing glimpses of it with Jarno and Marcel, Lucas Blakely and Wilson Hughes. We know how good they work together as well. So there's a lot of work for them to do building a new team, but I think they need to follow the example, really, of Alfa Romeo, Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronard. Of course, they didn't really work with each other previously, but now they seem to be, again, very much working together well. It's a very different situation, I suppose, to Nicolas Longe, Barry Borman, the two of them very good friends previously, and now, of course, teammates at Ferrari, and that dynamic is obviously very, very strong. So it will be interesting to see how they come through. But as well, you know, Alpine as well, and sort of new dynamic for them as well. Patrick Sipos now, I would imagine the team leader at Alpine, is the most experienced. He's back on the grid with us today. As Ruben Pedreño as well, the new recruit into Alpine, into a full-time seat, is now going to be trying to, of course, make his mark on this as well. But lots to keep your eyes on here in qualifying. It's only Q1, very slow out laps currently underway. And a man, we keep mentioning him, he surprised everybody last week with how quick he got out of the blocks after his stint in ESL R1 with FaZe Khan. Ulash Ozildirim, George, I mean, what a performance.
Yeah, I think we've got to talk about that, because he had every chance to take the victory as well, Jack. I mean, going back to Imola, it was a very special race. We know what that track's capable of. Certainly many surprises can occur at the circuit in the region of Emilia-Romagna. And Ulas really did deliver. Really tried to garner the top result, the best result he could. Luckily enough for him, though, it granted him a podium, and very nearly taking it away from Lucas Blakely. But you've got to give Blakely credit as well, Jack. I mean, that double overtake was the catalyst heading through that final segment of races, and it puts him in this championship fight as well, which is all a driver really desires at this point.
It is, and we're heading into, of course, we expect F1 esports to start much sooner this year than it has previously, but it'll be sort of interesting to see how the pace transfers. We know, of course, we like to go on about this record. We'll see if it carries on for another year, but so far, every PSGL PC F1 champion has gone out before the F1 esports series begins, has gone on to win that year's F1 esports title. It happened with Jarno, and it also happened with Lucas. So we'll see if that form will carry forward. Well, Barry Borman, of course, he'll be aiming He's been leading the championship for a while, has not had a good run of races really, and this tends to happen to Barry, sort of goes through a rough period, but it came good for him last season, so we'll see if it comes good for him towards the end. But he's still, we talk about, you know, how everyone else is closing up onto him, but at the end of the day, George, he's still in the lead by 8 points.
He is, and just by the skin of his teeth, Jarno Watmere, I'm sure will have something to say about that. But in comes Barry Burmand, heading through now Malmedy section, needs to try and dial in a perfect lap to get himself underway. We have, of course, got Marcel Kiefer in behind him on a lap as well. He's making his way through Les Combes as we now see Barry make his way through the Jackie X corner. And now heading downhill in towards Pouhon, an in-swinger of sorts as you make your way through turns 10 and turns 11 as well. Les Farnier will come very shortly, and sort of a left and right sort of segment. You start with the right, then in with the left as well. Car positioning here at this point is key as you then make your way down towards campus at turn 14, Stavelo at 15, and that'll link up with Corbet Paul Frere heading through towards turn 16, where you'll then find Blanchimont section, very high speed, and then you need to prime your braking point for the bus stop chicane as he now makes his way down through towards the next left in the Scuderia Ferrari that has granted him certainly top placing here in this championship. And now, as he has many drivers pecking at the rear, certainly trying to unleash their potential to unseat that of Barry Burmand, the current PSGL champion, sits a 140.5 to get us underway. Marcel Kiefer won't be too far behind. He's coming through the bus stop chicane as well, with Nicolas Longuet in hot pursuit. He's going to look to nestle his lap in. Marcel Kiefer not enough to get past that of Barry Burmand, but in the, should we say, in the pool of things, as Longuet now goes past Kiefer, it's Ferrari 1-2, but in comes Lucas Blakely jacking out.
It always amazes me how we have a lap that's 1 minute 40 long and these guys are still separated by just 200ths of a second after. Tom Manley somehow managed to slot in the middle of all of that and all goes a 40.498. So good laps from Lucas Blakely and from Tom Manley in the Alpha Tauri, you have to say. Very, very close, as you would expect, and still more laps to be set here. Brendan Lee is going to have to go again. He invalidated this time. That's not ideal for him. I'm just having a quick look. So has Jarno, but Danny Beresnay there, he goes to the top for the moment on a 140.4, and Ozildrim into second place, currently 40.4 as well. Freddie Rasmussen, though, also sets a 40.4, and the laps keep coming with Ronar straight out of the box immediately with a 40.284, and I'm sure he's going to come straight back to the garage, and he will not take any further part in this qualifying session. That's surely him safe.
Another cracking lap from Ulas as well, who's now stuck in fourth. He stuck his car in fourth and in the mixer once again with the best of them here as in comes Fabrizio Donoso. Of course, set that initial lap on intermediate tyres. He now sets a 147.96 on the softs as well. Jarno Watmere still out on a run as well, currently a 144.095, but on a slow lap here at this point. Brendan Lee, as you so rightly say, Jack, having to go again, still not enlisting, should we say, a reputable lap time at this point, or not distributing a lap at all, given the fact that he obviously invalidated that first run. But Thomas Ronar, the fastest man, 140.284, once again finding a key amount of time to break ahead of Freddie Rasmussen. Got to be impressed with Rasmussen as well, Jack, because we allude to the fact that some of these drivers have come away from ESL R1, jumping out of the GT3 car on a different sim, having only 1 month to practice, but Freddie already up to speed.
Yeah, I know he was frustrated with the race last week. Of course, he didn't even make the race in the end. He had to. He didn't end up taking the start of it, but he's been frustrated with not being quite up to speed, and we know he's a perfectionist, is Freddie Rasmussen, so I'm sure he's gone away, he's done more preparation, and he's going to be right back up. I mean, as we keep alluding to, he's finished second in F1 Esports almost every year. He's consistently up there, incredibly fast, so we'll expect Freddie Rasmussen to be back up as there's a little bit of a traffic jam going on down there towards the last chicane as they all come into the pit lane. There's 6 cars trying to find some space to get into the pit lane here, which is interesting. But the thing is with this track, it's one of the longest laps on the calendar at a 1 minute 40 in these cars. So if you invalidate that first run, you're putting yourself under a lot of time constraints to go out again to set a lap. So it's sort of a little bit of pressure on now for Jarno Watmere and Brendan Lee to get laps in to get themselves safely through. But as we would expect with this track being so long, well, it was 1 minute 40.4. I've never seen that before, George.
I've just actually got my eyes here on that of Thomas Ronhart. That is unbelievable.
My word. My word.
I don't know what to say, but I mean, it might... Because he's disqualified, he can't sell a lap here, Jack. They've disqualified.
He's out.
They've
He's done.
taken his
He's
time
done.
away. Ronhart is out. Incredible scenes. Let's take a look at that again, because I cannot believe what we've just seen, Jack. He came into the pit lane, ushered inwards, all of a sudden, race control, unleashing a disqualification. We have never seen that before in league racing, and now at this point, Ronhart, effectively, one of the mainstays, I would say, in PSGL, certainly in terms of his abilities behind the wheel, now out of qualifying. He will not proceed to Q2.
I've never seen that. I've no idea. I've no idea what that was. I have to assume that was some kind of hardware failure, but that's going to go down into some compilations, I'm sure. I've never seen...
That is baffling. That is absolutely baffling. I'm not kidding. We've never seen... You're so right. We've never seen that before. A few drivers already retiring, but that's not the story. Absolutely incredible. Thomas Ronhart out of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, how do you analyse that one?
I don't really know, to be honest, but I was watching someone else come across the line and I seen a flash of an Alfa Romeo going very slowly, saw the message pop up, cut over to Thomas Ronhart and saw him in the wall. So very interesting set of circumstances, but unfortunate for Thomas in the end, so he will not take any further part in qualifying. He's going to be starting from last, and of course, because he's disqualified, that also gets rid of his times, which means Freddie Rasmussen, now currently fastest on this, and there is the first of the illegal blocking penalties, so we will be having a restart, as you would expect. So we will now make sure we're keeping an eye on that pit entry now for the rest of this qualifying session. From what we're hearing, Thomas was actually going that slow on the way into the pit lane. The game actually disqualified him, which is why he ended up in the wall. His AI took over, so that would be an explanation why. But that's a warning to the drivers. Don't drive slowly on pit entry, because the game might disqualify you.
Yeah, that is absolutely out of this world. We're just watching other cars make their way, funneling through the pit lane. A few of them now about to start their hot laps. Alvaro Caraton being one of them now, makes his way down towards Le Source as he now crosses the line. The Williams now putting the throttle down as he now makes his way up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Now, can we see the best of Alvaro Caraton? Certainly one of the mainstays at Williams Esports, has been part of the fabric of this team now for such a long time. Very much like many drivers that are committed to their teams, as we now see that the checkered flag has now come down in qualifying. The dying laps now underway here at Spa as in comes Caraton through Les Combes. Now heading through towards Malmedy as well. The Williams looking to light things up here this time as he makes his way down through towards the Rivage section. He's right on the bubble in P15. This will be enough for safety, because Thomas Ronhart already taking one of those elimination spots thanks to the disqualification that he had in the pit lane. In comes Caraton now in towards Pouon, heading through the double left-hander at turns 10 and 11. Lefanier comes up next and move to the right and then the left. Incoming now for Caraton as he looks to prime the car through the right. Now out of the left, heading down now towards Campus Corner. Again, not quite as fast as the one at Spain. You do have to try and dig deep heading through the right-hander, but certainly looking just as on the money as he would have been over there, I'm sure. The Spaniard now makes his way down through towards the Blanchimont section. Of course, now currently sat in 15th, as I alluded to. This lap is so important for Caraton in order to stay in the session, stay in qualifying and make his way into Q2. Through towards bus stop, braking point primed. Caraton puts the throttle down as he heads up towards the line. Jarno Opmeer goes second fastest. Here comes Caraton, enough for fifth fastest. A great lap there, Jack.
Yeah, Marcel Kiefer goes fastest by 1,000th of a second. Look at the gaps again up towards the top end here. We're looking to see who's going to get through. Brendan Lee is safe. Alfie Butcher goes fastest on a 40.395 for the moment. So we'll wait and see who's in the drop zone at the moment. John Evans, Josh Ito. Ito coming across the line now is now safe. Goes 7th fastest as we wait now for Nicholas Longue currently on the bubble. He's not going to have another lap. Ruben Pedreño is in the drop zone currently. Will not make it. He comes into pit lane, so he'll be eliminated from qualifying here. So it's Pedreño, John Evans, Patrick Sipos, Fabrizio Donoso and Thomas Ronauer, who will not take any further parts in qualifying. Alfie Butcher and Marcel Kiefer setting the pace up at the front end. But once again, we have matching times up at the top, and Freddie Rasmussen and Jarno Watmere matching each other. Marcel Kiefer going 1,000 faster. And then just a couple of hundreds in front of them was Alfie Butcher, who topped the session there. So probably the most confusing and interesting Q1 that we've had in a little while, but it's Alfie Butcher who tops it. And as you can see, despite the lap being 1 minute 40 long, we still only have a gap of a tenth and a bit between first and getting eliminated, which is incredible.
Baffling, isn't it? Just over a tenth and a half separating Ruben Pedreño from the top time. And the bottom five, as you can see, eliminated. Pedreño, Evans, Sipos, as well as Donoso, Ronha getting disqualified earlier on. Absolutely intriguing scenes, Jack. And I just want to take another look at that, because that was absolutely out of this world. Of course, we witnessed him come into the pit lane, slow as you like, but obviously, you go too slow, the game does have a habit of cautioning you. And there you have it, the disqualification from the session, blocking the pit lane. And that, of course, led to Ronha getting disqualified from the session. Absolutely outstanding. And plus, we are debuting, by the way, folks. Not sure whether you noticed, the replay feature is now part of PSGL. So, give us a round of applause for that, Jack.
Oh, we finally got replays.
They're not part of the game. We've had to kind of fix the system a little bit, but yeah, we've got replays now. It's great.
I'll take credit for it. I did none of the work, but I'll take all the credit for the replays. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's one of those unlucky things for Thomas Ronauer. Going slowly into the pit lane, was obviously trying to probably get a gap so he doesn't run into the back of somebody else, or he was running low on fuel. Tried to come in and was just happened to be going about 2 or 3 kilometers an hour on a part of this track that's also kind of on the racing line and is also in the pit lane at the same time. So got disqualified for blocking the pit lane, which is, again, we break new ground here at PSGL. That was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, I really feel bad for Thomas, but it was kind of hilarious to watch his AI take over and just very slowly just drive him into the barrier. At the entrance to the pit lane.
I mean, that was just phenomenal. I've never seen that before in league racing, where a driver has gone too slow to the point where they get disqualified from a session. But nevertheless, you get all the firsts here at PSGL, and I'm sure that video will be making its way to YouTube very soon. I'm looking forward, though, to this next session, Jack. Lots of outstanding drivers fit in the bill. Obviously, Alfie Butcher, I think, surprising many, taking the top time, I think, towards the end of that session for Haas. And has faced a lot of scrutiny as well, Jack, because obviously we speak about the driving standards. He was involved in a very high-speed incident back in Japan with his teammate, Danny Berejnay, at the time. And I know that was met with a lot of contention between the two drivers in the Discord. Is it just a case he needs to cool it a little bit? Because I know the pressure for the drivers, certainly when you reach this level of esports, and certainly league racing at PC Tier 1 at PSGL, it really does make things perhaps a little bit, maybe it's quite enthralling for the drivers, maybe a little too much.
Yeah, probably. I think it's one of those things of being overzealous, you know, there is. We always say there's a learning aspect to it as well, but you know, there are times that you probably need to realize that driving style needs to be adjusted compared to others. So we'll see if that happens tonight. You know, because obviously you would imagine, because of the incident last week, he'll be under a lot more scrutiny. You would imagine. So I'm sure he's going to be thinking about that in the back of his mind as well. But just had some comments in chat. It is making me laugh a little bit, but that I look underdressed next to you, George, and that's just a given, really. Because I mean, how am I supposed to compete when this man is wearing a full-on waistcoat next to me? I can't compete.
You just love it. I think we're going to have to start introducing a dress code at PSGL, Jack and Ann. I think everyone's going to have to start. I can't wait for you to turn up in your Irish tartan uniform. I think it's going to look great.
Yeah, I'm going to pull out something outrageous next week. So I
want to see it, man. I want to see it.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it. So we're waiting for everybody to come out for their runs in Q2 here. It's been all quiet on the pit lane so far. We've only had one driver come out, do an outlap and come straight back in. So nobody going for that extra run on the first attempt. So we should see some quite packed action out on the track very shortly when we get to around the 10-minute mark. That tends to be when action starts, and we'll see who's going to get themselves through to the next part of qualifying. Obviously now we're going to have a different pole to the last year for whatever, again for the blocking reason. Thomas Ronar was on pole here last year, so he won't be taking any further part in qualifying. He'll be starting from the back, so we might have somebody else competing for pole position here. And well, it's sort of hard to call. I mean, there was a gap of maybe 200ths of a second in Q1, and we were expecting those times to keep on dropping and dropping and dropping. So anybody's guess, really.
Could we see a 39, Jack?
We could maybe. I wonder if anyone does. It would be an incredible lap. We were down to the 40.2s, I think it was, with Thomas Ronar in Q1. So we'll see if anybody can find a little bit more. But if somebody pulls out a 39, I'd be very impressed.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. The cars now making their way out onto the circuit now, folks at home. You can see there's plenty of action happening in the pit lane. And I tell you what, one man who tends to lead the way when it comes to qualifying laps, Danny Berejnay, not wasting any time. He's taking the train out towards turn 1, now in towards turns 2 and 3, heading up through Rouge and Radion, and then make his way up towards Les Combes. Let us know, folks, as well. Time on a tradition here at PSGL, we'd like to get you guys involved. Let us know who you think is going to get eliminated from Q2. Of course, give us your 5 names that you think is going to be out. Also, while you're at it, we're only steps away from 40k. PSGL, can you believe it, Jack Canan? When we joined this illustrious league, only 2.5 years ago, 700 subs, we're now encroaching on 40k. That's not bad going, is it?
Not bad. Could be better, but no, it's incredible. We never foresaw, or I don't think anybody saw that would foresee the growth of it. But thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you all coming in to spend your Wednesday evenings with us. But if we get to 40k tonight, that would be incredible as we head for what could be one of the greatest title fights so far, with 4 in the title fight. Could all change by the end of tonight either. And we've got some great tracks coming up as well. So keep with us for the rest of tonight. Of course, we've got Q2, Q3, and then the race straight afterwards following a lobby restart. So do keep with us in this race spa. So Danny Berejnay leading us around to begin the laps. Of course, everybody has come out onto the track at the same time. It'll be a little bit tight for track space, but again, these guys are experienced enough to give each other enough room. But it is, Danny Berejnay always likes to have the first run out on track. He tends to like to have the clean air in front of him, not worry about catching up to guys in front of him or worrying about guys behind him. He likes to just have the track to himself.
He does, likes the clean air. Many of the drivers do, because obviously that means that you have the space to attack the apexes without fear of having any other cars coming into proximity. We saw issues of this in PSGL back at Qatar, where Jake Benham would take out the current championship leader Barry Burman in a spectacular moment that has since been viral all over TikTok, not to mention YouTube as well. It was quite a moment, and I know that Jarno reacted to it as well himself, and that was met with a lot of hilarity. Certainly I'd imagine Barry Burman wasn't laughing at the time, because it was a crazy moment. He was getting ready for his hot lap and went straight into the back of Jake Benham. But all's fair in love and war, and I'm sure the two drivers now are getting along swimmingly. There's been a few rounds since then. Danny Berejnay now getting himself underway here in Q2 as he now makes his way up through towards Les Combes. And he'll take next right and left. No surprise to see him go purple in that first sector either, as he now makes his way in towards Malbeni. The first laps now of this session that we're looking to see now posted on the board. A very key moment. 29.8 set in the first sector by Danny Berejnay. Not bad at all, certainly looking dialed in. Some drivers have had to step into the 30s. Also in the 29s, we have Freddie Rasmussen, Jarno Opmeer further down then as well. We have Mark Butcher, who stepped into the 29.9s. Still though, Berejnay holding on to the fastest first sector, so looking really strong at this moment, making his way through the next chicane at La Farnier. He'll then make his way down through towards Campus and Stavelot as well. Many of the drivers still posting the 29s. No one though breaching the 29.8 that Berejnay has already posted. Again, setting a pretty decent second sector. I will say this though, Barry Burman has stolen the purple first sector at 29.7. He has taken in that first sector, a 42.4 going to Berejnay, but Ulas Ozyildirim has taken a purple second sector. In comes Berejnay now through the bus stop chicane, makes his way now up towards the line. And as he does so, what's he going to post to get this underway? A 40.2, already blasting away the top time that we saw in Q1. Ulassos Yildirim, who had the purple second sector, sits a 142.95 to boot as well. More cars coming through. Kiefer at this point holding on to the purple second sector as well. Can he make it better as well? Lucas Blakely now to the top with a 42. He goes ahead of that of Danny Berejnet. Tom Manley goes to the top. Marcel Kiefer comes towards the line, fifth fastest, despite that purple second sector. And immediately Alfie Butcher again at the top, Jack. I tell you what, he's impressing here tonight.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Alfie Butcher currently the fastest man out there at the moment. So it's Alfie Butcher, Tom Manley, Lucas Blakely, your top three, but still more cars across the line. Here comes Barry Boreman, 40.2 for him. Jarno Watmere also a 40.2, incredibly close. Rasmussen crossing the line now, 40.2. More still to come as they cross the line. Longe with a 40.1 goes to the top just in front of Alfie Butcher for the moment. Josh Ito has invalidated towards the final corner, so he'll have to go out again, but 40.1 for Nicholas Longe, 40.1 for Alfie Butcher, and then it's from Barry Boreman down to Jake Benham. They're all on a 40.2. There is, I think, is that 700ths of a second between third down to 10th, which again, super close, but Longe is on form at the moment.
He is, he's in great form, and only mere hundredths again outside that of Alfie Butcher. I worked that out at 35 thousandths of a second difference between that of Butcher and Longe. So mere fragments, folks, nothing between them. It just goes to show the quality that we have here at PSGL. Sitting here in the top tier, Longe, Butcher, Boreman. It's a Ferrari engine front three here in Q2 with Jarno Watmere in fourth as well. And we'll be looking, I'm sure, to push onwards and upwards as he does so often here at Spa. Just talking about Spa-Francorchamps as a circuit, aside we're looking at qualifying at the moment, but looking ahead to the race here, Jack, Jarno tends to perform in the race. Qualifying isn't his strength. We've seen that time and time again, but in terms of a race element, given the fact that Spa is the longest circuit on the calendar, is that where Jarno can exploit it that bit more? Because he does seem to have that ability, I suppose, to withhold the stamina test, at the same time, the strategical test.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is sort of a racer's track, isn't it, Spa? It's not, again, qualifying again is important, but we heard from Lucas Blakely a couple of weeks ago about this game, how he said that last year's game was solely about qualifying because everybody was on the same strategy. This game is all about both. Qualifying is important, but the race is even more important than qualifying. So, especially around here, I mean, you've got, do you really want to be that lead car going through La Source, all the way up through Eau Rouge, Radion, all the way down the Kemmel Straight? I mean, even to hang on to the lead by the time you get to the end of the Kemmel Straight is a tough ask. So getting pole position is not the be-all and end-all here, I would say, at Spa. But again, it is important, but it's not as important as a street track, for example, like Monaco, nowhere near. But interesting to see. Longe, confident up at the top there, retiring, not going to go for a second run. And I think it's going to be pretty tight as to who makes it through at the moment. It's Jake Benham, who's currently just about in. Marcel Kiefer currently out. A man who really needs to get himself through to keep himself in the championship fight. Brendan Lee, he's got to pull something out here.
Yeah, this is a huge moment for Brendan Lee because, like you so rightly say, Jack, while qualifying isn't quite as important as the race, obviously that's an obvious statement due to the fact that, you know, points, you know, are basically allocated based on your race performance. At the same time, the qualifying can make your job that much easier. And if you're Brendan Lee right now, you're currently sat in 12th place, you're in the championship fight, 3 of the other championship contenders are all in the top 10. You really need to start digging deep here at this point, especially now. So we've only got 2 minutes and 30 still to go, and this very lap could prove to be the catalyst in terms of his championship charge this season.
Could be, and as well, the more we've gone through this season, the closer the grid has become. So as you're seeing here, 700ths of a second between third down to 10th. Everybody is on the limit here. Everybody is performing, but the level is so high that, you know, one simple error, one missed braking point, and that's you out. We saw it perfectly last week at Imola, and we're probably going to see it here again because 700ths around Spa is absolutely nothing. One of the longest tracks on the calendar, 700ths around this circuit. is mere inches. As Long and Butcher, they probably are safe on a 40.1. So we'll see, can anybody else find time? Because seemingly because of that retirement there, we're going to be looking at 40.1s to be safe. And we'll see if anybody can deliver them, but it's all in the hands now. Marcel Kiefer delivered it at Imola last week, did a lap right at the death to get himself into Q3, and well, he needs to do it again.
Yeah, let's wait and see whether he can do that. It's quite a build-up of cars heading through the second sector. It actually looks like there's a McLaren and a Ferrari getting reasonably tight to each other. Danny Berejnet is going to get himself underway now here on his flying lap, making his way down through towards turn 1. La Source coming up next, and this is where Danny needs to fly. Makes his way now through towards this next apex at turn 1, and then making his way up through towards Eau Rouge, and of course Radion as well. The Haas now with 2 cars currently in the top 10. Alfie Butcher already retiring after setting that 140.195, enough for second fastest here at this point as well. We're getting closer and closer to the 139s. Can we see one here by the end of Q3? We'll have to wait and see. We might even get to see one here in Q2. It would be a phenomenal lap if anyone can pull this off. Track temperature currently at 28 degrees, which isn't the hottest it's been, as we're now seeing Berejnet make his way through Malmedy. Down now in towards the next hairpin, through Rivage section, digging deep, hitting the tight apex at that point to open up the door then for a swift run, heading through Jackie X Bend, heading down now towards Pouon at turn 10, out of turn 9 as well, formerly known as No Name Corner, and then down towards the Farnier chicane. Sector 2 proper now for Danny Berejnet, and not quite improving the way you would have liked though. A 29.834 was the first sector, and Lucas Blakely, Jack, he's in trouble. He's invalidated his run.
He's going to be waiting now, but there's a rare mistake from Lucas Blakely to invalidate that run. So now he's going to have to sit and wait and hope nobody else behind him improves. But one man who is improving is Danny Berejnet. He's at almost 0.2 of a second up on his best time, a tenth and a bit in the middle sector there. So we'll see if he can pull even more time in this final sector. He should be safely through if he can hook this lap up. It could actually be the fastest lap so far into the final chicane. Comes Danny Berejnet to get himself through to Q3. It was a really tidy lap up to this point. What is it for the Hungarian?
Oh, yeah.
It's fastest so far, a 40.141. That should be him safe. Josh Ito is also invalidated. He's not going to have any further part in this qualifying session. So now it's all up to whether anybody else behind can improve. So Brendan Lee, see if he can get himself through to Q3. Needs to do that as Yildirim improves. Goes to third fastest. Here comes Brendan Lee across the line now. Is he safe? Yes, he is. Goes third fastest across the start-finish line now. And we have even more to come now. Marcel Kiefer, he did it last week. He's a tenth and a half up on his best time. Comes out of the final corner. Blakely might get eliminated here by Marcel Kiefer. He does get eliminated. Blakely is going to be out in Q2, and now that is going to be a shock for his championship contention now, but of course we can't count him out later. But Tom Manley goes to the top on a 40.117. So will it be a double elimination for McLaren? Wilson Hughes, can he get himself through to Q3? Yes, he can. Great lap, Wilson Hughes. Crosses the line, goes third fastest. Rasmussen goes through. Barry's in trouble now. He's in P10. He's out. Barry's out of Q2. Upmere is also out. Disaster for the championship contenders. They're all out except for Brendan Lee.
Now that's a turn up for the books, Jack. We were talking about how 3 of the other championship protagonists were in the top 10 heading through to the second half, and how key it was for Brendan Lee to nail a flying lap. He did so. His other 2 title contenders didn't. Jarno is out of qualifying. So's Barry Burman. Lucas Blakely also out of qualifying. Incredible scenes here. It's a big swerve. Brendan Lee upsetting the odds. The 3 were in the top 10. They're eliminated. Brendan Lee, who was in the elimination zone, goes through. Tom Manley with a delicious 140.117 plants himself 9 thousandths higher than Freddie Rasmussen, enough to take him to first fastest, with Freddie in second. Marcel Kiefer after that purple second sector, delivering him a 140.131, 14 thousandths off the top. Look how close that is, right up in the top 4. Top 5, 24 thousandths to the good. Incredible. The top 10 all within 78 thousandths as well. Jarno Opmeer just on the cusp of getting in the same 10th. He's been eliminated, however. Barry Burman in 12th. Lucas Blakely in 13th. Alvaro Caraton 14th, with Josh Ito not setting a lap after invalidating that final run. 15th place. unbelievable, Jack. And that's exactly what Brendan Lee needed to do as well at this point, because obviously it's so important to really hit the nail on the head heading through the final lap. Obviously, it is so key, and Spa has so much risk, so much danger. You get it wrong at least once, you're in trouble.
When was that? Have we ever seen those three all go out of Q2? I don't think we ever have.
Never have. That's got to be a first. That's a first, I think.
And what is incredible about this is that all of their teammates made it through. So Wilson Hughes gets through. Nicolas Longue gets through. Barry Borman does not. Marcel Kiefer gets through. Jarno Wantmir does not. Freddie Rasmussen gets through. Josh Ito does not. The only team that got through is Tom Manley and Jake Benham, as well as Danny Beresnay and Alfie Butchers, both the Hasses, both the AlphaTauris. But the young team of the AlphaTauris, Tom Manley and Jake Benham, I mean, to get through, that is some performance for the two of those to get through. Tom Manley looking really, really good around here. We'll see if he can do that, but I think that'll be a major confidence boost for Wilson Hughes to get through in that qualifying.
It's great news for Mercedes, though, isn't it, Jack? Because you've got two of your drivers that, well, three of your drivers essentially part of the roster. Beresnay, Kiefer, as well as Benham. That's 3 out of the 4. Otmir goes out. The other 3, though, through to Q3. Obviously, if you're the likes of Benham and Beresnay, I think it's pretty clear that we expect Kiefer to be alongside Otmir for the incoming F1 Esports Championship generally. Obviously, Beresnay filling in as potentially a reserve role, as does Jake Benham. But these guys are fighting for their place at this point. Would you not agree?
I think, yeah, absolutely. And a performance like that is going to say a lot to get through with a gap of 700ths up to the top and a 10th to being knocked out. And again, 2 appearances, George. 2 Q3 appearances for Ulashes Yildirim. Straight through again. Caraton didn't make it through. He did. So a great performance from him. Freddie Rasmussen through to Q3. He's had a tough run of it, really, so far this season as Freddie Rasmussen. So he'll be happy to get through to Q3. And, you know, Nicolas Longue on a run of form, wants to get himself back on pole position. Marcel Kiefer as well is sort of finding his stride a bit now. He has that pole position from Hungary, but he's looking quick now. Brendan Lee, of course, when we talk about championship contention-wise, that was massive for him. Track position is going to be everything, really, from the start. You don't want to get caught up in instance, so the further he can get himself up the grid, more cars he can get between himself and his championship rivals, the better. So, I mean, what we've got lined up either way is going to be some race, because we'll have Jarno, Barry and Lucas all starting on the same bit of track. You've got Jarno in 11th, Barry in 12th, and Lucas in 30th, I think it was, or some variation of that. They'll all be in the same bit of track at the very least while we have that race going on. So don't count them out, coming from 11th, 12th, 13th place, whatever. But big race on their hands. And I can't remember the last time, or even if this has ever happened, apart from the 3 of them all going out at once. But when was the last time we had Barry go out consecutively in Q2?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that is absolutely extraordinary. I think, given the fact as well that there's a huge championship fight on the cards, this is a huge chance for Brendan Lee, might I add. I mean, if he wins tonight, that is huge in terms of his point standing. Of course, they're coming into the final rounds now of the season. F1 Esports is literally just around the corner. It's all about, at this point, really stamping your ticket, giving yourself a chance and impressing your team, because while you have been signed to a team as such, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the seat. Though for some people I'm sure it's more secure than others. There's plenty of other young pretenders looking to try and get themselves to the top in F1 Esports, and I have to tell you, some of the young pretenders, certainly here in this top 10 lineup, have given themselves an almighty chance to impress leading up towards the championship coming very soon. Danny Beresnay getting us underway here in Q3. Now let us know at home, folks. We want to hear from you. Who is taking pole position? We're going to throw it over to you guys. Let us know who you think is going to be on top here in this session. Danny Beresnay now taking them all the way up through towards Laycon. We're going to wait and see who's going to come out on top in this affair. But let us know your selections. And if you are a PSGL viewer, don't forget to hit the red button, that being the subscribe button, to stay up to date with whenever we go live here at PSGL. Don't forget to check out our fantastic sponsors, GT Omega and Virage Sim Racing Gloves as well. As now we see Beresnay make his way out of the Jackie Expend, down through in towards Pouon. Very, very key now for Beresnay to light things up. A 29.8 in the first sector is a nice way to start. He's currently one of 3, now 4 drivers who have nestled in at 29. the guy in P6 right now, Nicholas Longy on your screen, he's just stolen that purple first sector as well. So he's looking so dialed in now as we now wait and see Berejnay make his way in towards Sector 3. In Sector 2, the time was good as well, a 42.382. That is competitive. Berejnay on a flyer. But now he has had that purple second sector stolen from him by his own teammate Alfie Butcher, who certainly has impressed here tonight as well. As now Berejnay makes his way into the bus stop chicane, heading out now. You'll look to power his way down towards the start-finish line. What's he going to enlist to get us underway here as well? It's going to be a 1:40.164. In comes Wilson Hughes to come in and join the fight. He's got Alfie Butcher in behind. Wilson Hughes goes second fastest. Here comes Butcher. He comes up towards the line. Haas 1 and 2. A 1:40.172. Mere thousand separated them. Ulas Yildirim, the hero from Imola, he goes fourth fastest as Brendan Lee comes into third place, and he's looking good for it, Jack.
Yeah, it is. You can see the difference between used and new tyres there, and there's Longy for 40.119 to get us underway on those tyres. Marcel Kiefer will go to 40.558. Still more to come. Rasmussen in the mix as well on a 40.193. They're all on 40.1s. And you can see the difference there, who's on used and who's on new. And it is, of course, the 40.1s are on new tyres. The 40.5s and down are all on used tyres, as you can see there. But Longy with the advantage, but only just 800ths between first and fourth there. So there's still much more to come in this qualifying session. We haven't seen representative times from the Alpha Tauris yet, and they'll be ones to watch certainly. But Longy with the early blood, 40.119 to get us underway, and the two Hasses right behind him and barely separable there, a couple of thousandths between them, and Freddie Rasmussen also in the mix for that as well. So what's great about this, with having some going out on used tyres, some going out on new, is we won't know who's got the pace until the very last laps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Longy now on the top, 1:40.119, ahead of that of Danny Berejnay. The gap's very minute, 45 thousandths of a second between Ps1 and Ps2, 53 thousandths back then to P3's Alfie Butcher, with Freddie Rasmussen in fourth, Marcel Kiefer in fifth, as we now see him make his way through the middle sector, and then they'll come in and then later come back out onto the track again for one final chance to dance, as we now stretch down into the final echelons of qualifying, the second half of the stint. And it's then going to be down to just the mere drivers and the one lap they'll have left to post, which will then hopefully, in their eyes, enlist a pole time. And I tell you what, given the fact that the gaps are so minute, Jack, we could be seeing quite a thoroughfare of cars making their way through. Going back to what you said about tyres as well, you can really see the difference. I mean, if you look at Marcel Kiefer, very nearly 4.5 tenths off the top time. The car above him, that of course being the Red Bull of Freddie Rasmussen, only a mere 74,000. So he obviously setting his on the newest set of tyres, and then Marcel Kiefer downwards on the used set of tyres. So there we have it. Just goes to show the difference in strategical elements. Some drivers opting for those used tyres just to perhaps give themselves an extra set coming in towards the end of quali, maybe factoring in, well, they wouldn't factor in the race elements because of course we've got a restart coming up very soon due to the grid penalty issue. But at the same time, it's interesting to see the tactics on show, with some of the drivers choosing to use their tyres early and some choosing to save them for later on.
Yeah, so we'll see now. This is going to be the fun part, because there's a very short turnaround here because of the length of the lap. 3.5 minutes to go. Nicholas Longy trying to go for his second pole position. Well, he's trying to go for pole position anyway here at Spa, and Danny Berejnay trying to displace him, but 500ths of a second is what he needs to find. Has Longy got more in the tank? We'll wait and see. Alfie Butcher could spring a surprise. Rasmussen would love to get himself back on pole position again, but of course we have all of the rest of these guys who did their initial runs on old tyres and used tyres that now have fresh sets of tyres to use. Marcel Kiefer trying to go for his second pole position of the year. Brendan Lee trying to go for his second pole position of the year. Ulas trying to go for his first in the PCF1 as well. Wilson Hughes looking for a result. And we still have the two Alpha Tauris as well, who might spring a surprise. Tom Manley looking like the very strong one today. We'll see if he can spring a surprise. I actually think he went slightly faster than Longy went in Q2. I think it was a 1:14 he managed on Q2, but of course there's still time left in the session here as they trundle around. It's a long lap to trundle around, so we get a long build up to the climax here.
Yeah, we do. And again, another chance for you guys to get your predictions in. Let us know who your selection for pole is. You've got 1 of 10 to choose from, and all of them with a great chance of doing just that. Longay currently holding on to the top time with a 1:40.119. Not quite close enough to break into the 1:39s. We'll need to get closer and closer, but the track temperature, Jack, keenly enough, is now 27 degrees. Let's read out some of these names. Tactics Rules saying, I'm going to go for Brendan. So that's Brendan Lee. That's Tactics and Rules. Longay for Jess Games. Marcel for Ole Ole, as well as Marcel again for Risto. We have got Tom Manley for Michael Marlowe. Saqib Khan is going for Longay. We'd like to see Danny get it. I think many would as well. Ulas Pole. We've got Ulas Pole again. Alfie, Marcel Kiefer. Again, another word of Ulas as well. Plenty of you going for Ulas Ozyildirim, and you'd have every right to do so, especially after his performance last time out at Imola. He certainly did impress, and he's impressing again here at Spa as well, getting into Q3. Again, more for Marcel, more votes. You've got to be impressed with Kiefer too, Jack. The improvement has been staggering.
Yeah, he is. He's finding his stride, and like I keep saying, he's already got a pole position this season, so he's got a 1 under his belt. He knows he can do it and can deliver. But championship-wise, there's one man who would love this pole position and really drag himself into the fold here, Brendan Lee, who will come out of the final quarter to get us underway for the pole shootout here at Spa. Brendan Lee looking to try and see if he can get himself even second in the championship or overhaul the championship lead, as all his championship rivals are currently outside of the points, or will start outside the points. But of course, he won't have the support of his teammate, who will start in 20th and last position. Already has a pole this season, as Brendan Lee wants to get another.
Certainly does so, folks. Get your subscribes in. Make sure you, well, stay tuned into PSGL as well. Leave a like as well. We really appreciate your support. You guys have certainly been some mega support for us here at PSGL year on year for every season since season 27. Brendan Lee looking for a support beacon of his own to aid him in enlisting a top time that will grant Alfa Romeo a stab in the dark at perhaps achieving a pole position here at Belgium, which would go a long way to his championship charge. 1 of 4 contenders for this year's title, and he has a great chance of usurping those ahead of him here this time around at the Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. Coming through Pouhon and heading out of turns 10 and 11 down towards Les Farniers at turn 12. 13 coming up next through the right and the left, the slalom section, you could say, as he now makes his way down through towards Campus and Stavolo, staying tight into the curb as well, using all the track on the escape, and already a mighty near enough 3.5 tenths of a second up. Incredible second sector, but he's had that stolen away. Ulas Ozyildirim 42.1, only mere thousand separating him and Brendan Lee in sector 2, and Ulas is absolutely flying in 7th place right now. Can he go that much higher? Can he steal pole away from Longay? As now Brendan Lee makes his way towards the line now, a 1:40.585 to beat. Where does he go? To the top. Ulas Ozyildirim now looking to do the same, a 1:40.042 to beat. He does do it. A stellar lap there from Ulas Ozyildirim. More cars coming through though, Jack. Kiefer coming up towards the line.
39.9 from Ulas Ozyildirim. What a lap. Alfie Butcher goes 3rd fastest. Now we still have more to come. Longay coming through the bus stop chicane, trying to get his second pole. Here comes Longay. Is it enough to steal pole?
Oh.
It is a 39.8 for Nicholas Longay. Still more cars to come. Beresnay goes 3rd fastest. Rasmussen next across the line, 6th fastest for him. Here come the AlphaTauris. Jake Benham goes into 4th. Tom Manley, could he steal pole here at Spa? He crosses the line. He does not steal pole in the end. Tom Manley goes 9th fastest, but what a lap. Nicholas Longay 39.8, and he takes pole position by a 10.5. What a stunning lap from Nicholas Longay. Ozyildirim again 2nd on the grid here in Spa. Danny Beresnay will start 3rd, Jake Benham 4th. I think Brendan will be happy with that. P5. Alfie Butcher lines up 6th. Rasmussen 7th. Wilson Hughes lines up 8th. Tom Manley in 9th. And Marcel Kiefer in P10. But I tell you what, with the gaps that we've had, throughout Q1, Q2, and Q3. That is some lap from Nicolas Longue. A low 39.8. That is stunning.
It is absolutely stunning indeed. Nicolas Longue will be absolutely thrilled with that sensational lap. He really did deliver. Of course, Ozyildirim did take the top time initially, but no one could stop the ensuing Frenchman, Nicolas Longue. He takes pole position this time around in great style. And it has to be said, we're looking forward to seeing how he gets on when we head into the race. We do incidentally have a lobby restart, folks, so don't go away. Plenty more to come. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Well, welcome back, folks, and after a very, very enthralling qualifying session, we certainly witnessed some really crazy moments, and again, it's a sensational run from Longue. Jack Kinnan, of course, took his first PSGL win earlier on this season when racing at Japan. The confidence is obviously ebbing and flowing, but it's also ebbing and flowing with one ULAS Ozyildirim. He was the first car to break into the 39s, and he's on the front row of the grid as well to boot. He is on a superior run right now.
He is, and I think he said last week when we spoke to him after the race when he got in his amazing P2, he wasn't expecting to be as quick as he was, and I suppose maybe he would have thought perhaps deep down that it might have been just a one-off. Well, now we know it's definitely not a one-off, and Ozyildirim has found something and is on the pace straight away. So great to see him up at the top there, but we go back to that story. I mean, whatever happened at that qualifying might have been one of the craziest we've seen. We have Runner getting disqualified, first of all, from driving too slowly according to the game on the way into the pit lane. The game disqualified him. We then had Opmir, Blakely and Bormann go out in Q2. Not because I think they'd messed up a lap or they'd invalidated or anything as far as I could see, but the pace was just or the gaps were that close, they just missed out. So they're going to be starting 11th, 12th and 13th. Championship leader Brendan Lee, or not championship leader, now championship contender Brendan Lee, starting in P5. From what I'm looking at points-wise, in order for him to lead the championship coming into the next round, he needs to finish at least second, and the rest of them need to not score. So it's a pretty tough ask for him to take the championship lead. But I mean, either way, if he can start outscoring people, that's what he needs to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you one thing we can do, folks. We can take a look at the championship standings because you guys haven't yet seen that here tonight. But let's take you through it because there's lots to look at. Barry Burman, 62 points coming into tonight. Jarno Opmeer on 54. Brendan Lee on 50. Lucas Blakely on 48 with Danny Berejne on 36. Though the top four is what we're all looking at. The top three you can see highlighted on the left-hand side. But Barry Burman currently on top spot, 62 points, looking to defend his title that, of course, he managed to win against that of Thomas Ronhart on the final race of last season, where it was all decided in the stewards' room after a very contentious Bahrain Grand Prix. But Jarno Opmeer now in behind in second place is certainly going to struggle, I think, a little bit. Barry and Jarno and that of Lucas Blakely all sharing the same zone of track after a difficult qualifying session meant that they were eliminated out of Q2. And then, of course, factor in the likes of Brendan Lee, who, incidentally, seemingly has restored perhaps the same kind of promise we kind of experienced from him heading back in the early years of F1 Esports in 2017 and 18. There is some of that coming back here now, Jack, and I must say, if he performs tonight, it could be vital to his championship credentials as well.
Absolutely, it can be vital for any of them, but of course we can't count out, the likes of Jarno, Lucas, and Barry coming back to the field again. Barry, of course, will be trying to avoid getting spun around in turn one or getting involved in an instant like he did last week. Jarno, again, he's consistently been up there, and we know we can work his way up back into those positions, so he'll be looking to do that as well. Barry, of course, he'll be hoping that everybody else around him has a poor race. If he doesn't score points, then he needs everyone else to not score points as well. That's basically how it goes with a couple of rounds left for him. He has an 8-point advantage going into this race, of course. 16 points for a win here at PSGL, so it's come down quite a lot. He did have over a race win at one point, but he hasn't had the best run in the past couple of races, so he'll be looking to change that. Jarno sits currently 8 points behind him on 54 points. Brendan Lee is on 50 points, as we saw, and Lucas on 48, just 2 points behind. So Lucas, we know he can come from seemingly nowhere to take a victory. He did it last week, and we've seen multiple times this season, on 2 occasions, drivers have come from 18th on the grid to take a victory. Jake Benham did it with the first official point scoring round at Zandvoort, and we saw Otis Lawrence do it from 18th in Kota before he was given a penalty afterwards. So it is doable, and we have, in that regard, I suppose we need to watch out for Ronar.
Yes, a very, very spicy race inbound. I know a lot of you guys at home, I think, are getting a little excited about it. Obviously, Longuet now on the front row of the grid. I think Ulas's Yildirim is going to give him a headache right at the very start, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then, of course, there's that scrap in the midfield as well, with all the championship contenders in the mix. Brendan Lee needs to get something working from 5th. I'd imagine he's going to be overtaking early. There's going to be a different strategy, though, I think, on hand, though, Jack. I think from those in the midfield, because obviously, you have those that perhaps will try and go a little bit longer on their tyres up at the front end, but then you've got those then in the mid-pack who might choose to stick on a set of softs and try and machete their way through the field.
Yeah, I think we'll see some of that, definitely. We've seen it work previously before with guys just gaining track position, using those softs. And of course, the downside to that, in that regard, is they're going to have to pit early and, again, won't have tyre grip towards the end of the race, barring that the race remains safety car free. So in that regard, guys like Ronar and Cole, they need to try something different to the rest of the field. If everybody else goes softs, they need to go opposite, basically. Go hards or go long or do something like that to try and at least gain track position and hope and hold out for a safety car. We've seen Freddie Rasmussen do something similar. He started inside the top 10. He started on hards in Japan, stayed with the lead pack, and it almost paid off for him, actually, in the end, but just didn't quite have the tyre grip towards the end. So it is definitely doable. Alternate strategies work much better on this game than they did on previous games. So it's not over and out for many of these guys who are starting down the order like it would have been probably before on previous games. So lots to watch out for. And, I mean, safety cars, we've seen them plenty of times around Spa.
No, yeah, we've seen plenty of them. We want to take a little look again at obviously the pole lap. I mean, a stellar showing again. I think we've got to give credit to Marcel Kiefer after going 7th fastest and, well, indeed 9th fastest to this point in Q3 after all the laps came flying in. Alfie Butcher was impressive. Ulas's Yildirim getting into the 139s. And then, of course, it was Nicolas Longuet who made his way into the front end as well. It certainly was a grand effort from both drivers, certainly on both counts. But, again, Longuet having the upper hand in the first and latter sector, a 29.6 in Sector 1. Which was purple in the first sector, 27.791 in that final sector. Kiefer was once again purple in that middle sector, Jack. He seemed to impress in Sector 2, but again, Sector 1, Sector 3, letting him down. And again, that speaks volumes about the circuit of Spa, given the fact that it is just so, should we say, I suppose convoluted in many ways, given the fact that there's so much variation. It's a long circuit, it was 4.352 miles. That's 7.004 kilometers as well, 19 turns. Lots of track time for these drivers to negotiate their way around on one solitary lap. And then they've got multiple laps of, of these conditions certainly in front of them. So how important is it to be necessarily not a driver on over one lap pace, should we say, that can do it in quali, but over a series of laps? Because the whole race is really what counts, right?
It is. The race is where the points are scored at the end of the day. And I think when you talk about the sectors there, Sectors 1, Sectors 3, being strong for him and Sector 2 letting him down. That might also be a difference in setup. You know, others might have set up the car specifically to go fast in a straight line. They lose out in that tight and twisty middle sector. So, but obviously, whatever works for different drivers, you know, that's the beauty of having the different setups. You know, lower wings can gain you all the time on the straights down the Kemmel straight. It can be very useful for Sector 1 because, I mean, when you look at Sector 1, a lot of it is flat out throttle. So you've got La Source, the hairpin, and then it's basically flat out all the way up Eau Rouge, Radion down the Kemmel straight into the braking zone for the chicane. So there's benefits to that, of course, especially if you're looking in the race. You're in a DRS train, you might just have a small bit of an advantage. You might actually be able to get yourself out of that DRS train. But it's all up to driver preference at the end of the day, but it's super important to have a setup on the car that you're confident on for the race. Some of these guys might have ran with just a quality setup or don't have a car that's more suited to qualifying than it is for the race, but it could all be thrown out the window because we had a full dry qualifying there, and as we know with Spa, the weather is very unpredictable. Yeah, no, it's very unpredictable. It tends to be a pocket climate as such. You know, you tend to get the weather coming in out of all angles, and then given the fact that we're up in the mountains as well, in the hills, the forests of Stavelot and the Ardennes forest, should we say, as well, there's lots of rain that tends to come in at the most weirdest points. I remember being there earlier on this year for the GT World Challenge 24-hour, of course commentating Frecker that weekend, and the weather that just came through out of absolutely nowhere in a split second, in a blink of an eye, all of a sudden we were soaked, and that's something for the drivers to manage. And here at Spa, we do see that time and time again, so don't be surprised if rain is a factor, though you never know, we might get lucky and have a dry race. So sit tight, folks, and you never know what you're going to see. But let us know anyway who your predictions are for a race win. Jack, I'm going to throw it over to you, because time and time again I like to throw you under the bus. Who's winning this race here tonight? This is a tricky one because, well, I peaked back at the time when I predicted Pole and the race win completely correctly. So I don't know, at this rate, it could literally be anyone. I will say, early loading in, it looks very dark around the circuit. So it looks like there could be rain on the horizon, but it's a tough one to call. I'm probably going to go... I'm going to go for an audacious one, I think. I'm going to go for Barry from 12th. Wow, Barry from 12th, that's a huge call and could yet be another stepping stone to him clinching the title. Let us know, folks. I can see Brendan is getting some support. Jarno Benham as well, Danny Berejne, Nicholas Longue as well, Ulash Ozildarim as well with Blakely. Many of you have gone for various different drivers. Great to see. Again, folks, don't forget to check out PSGL. Leave a subscribe, leave a like. Check out the sponsors at GT Omega and Virage as well. We're about to go racing here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium. Looking forward to it. Make sure you pledge your support. You can check out the socials as well at Premier Sim GL as we now wait for the cars. As now we do indeed have the red lights now going lit here. All 5 lights are lit. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Nicholas Longue getting a very good start. Ulas Ozildarim also getting 1-2, but inside line for Danny Berejne is going to help him out big time. Squarely over the curves for Ozildarim as he goes side by side here with Danny Berejne. He has his wing in front as they head on through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. It's Berejne up into second place with Ozildarim now in behind as well, but we'll have the charge up towards Lecom. Benham in 4th. Keith on the right as well. Battles past Wilson Hughes. Tom Manley's had an error. He's stepping down as well. But there's a cluster of cars. They're making their way through. Ozildarim defending against Benham. In comes Brendan Lee. Brendan Lee with a stellar move there on Jake Benham and seals the deal for that 4th place. Yeah, Wilson Hughes has had an issue down in the chicane there. He drops down to the tail of the field, but split strategies across the field here. Nicholas Longue has started on the soft tires. Berejne, Ozildarim and Brendan Lee are all on the mediums. Jake Benham, what a great start from him. He's on the hard compound tires in P5. You've got Freddie Rasmussen, Marcel Kiefer, Jarno Watmere, Barry Borman, all on the soft tires. Like you said, George, we thought they might go soft tires, and they have done to try and make some positions. Lucas Blakely in 11th on the medium tires, and Ronar, what a start from Ronar, last on the grid. He's already 14th, and he's on the hard compound tire as well, but it does look like there may be rain coming very soon. It's very dark around the circuit at the moment, but Longue got the start. He's broken DRS already. He needs to make use of those softs. And according to my telemetry, Jack, 44 minutes until rain. That is the call. Whether we'll get it this race, I'm not sure, but if it does come, I'd imagine it's going to be in the latter stages. Alfie Butcher going in deep this time here on Jake Benham, wheel to wheel at the bus stop now. Can he hold it around the outside? Of course, a young man who has certainly been held in contention for many a move he has made.
throughout his league racing adventures. Now at this point here in PSGL, looking to chuck it down the inside, has got past Benham and has managed to consolidate that 5th place, and now looking to give chase on Brendan Lee. They make their way up now towards Eau Rouge and Radion, breaking out of the slipstream. Ulas Ozyildirim, as you can see, Longuet on those soft tyres, Jack, checking out now at this point. 1.6 seconds to the good. Ulas Ozyildirim now under pressure. Here comes Berejnay as well, but Ulas giving the upper hand on the medium tyres. He's up to 2nd place. Alfie Butcher as well now looking to also give chase. He's now in 5th, can't get past Brendan Lee. They're all coming together, nothing between them. Blakely as well in 11th place, hugging the rear of his former teammate Barry Burman.
There goes Rasmussen down the inside of Brussels there as he gets up the inside of Benham, who's on the hard tyres as well. I think Jake might have possibly picked up some damage with a little bit of contact with Alfie Butcher on the way into the braking zone at the end of the Kemmel straight. I think he might have just nudged the back of Alfie going in there, so we'll see if that has given him any sort of damage here. But Rasmussen through to P6, and now Marcel Kiefer, Jan Wotmere, they're both all over the back of, well, their teammates really, aren't they? Marcel Kiefer, Jan Wotmere and Jake Benham, of course, donning the Alpha Tower because the 2 Mercedes seats are currently filled in the league at the moment. So Barry Borman holds 10th place, Lucas Blakely holding 11th at the moment. Soft runners needing to make hay while the sun shines. Nicholas Longuet certainly do, and that got the start checked out immediately. 1.5 seconds to the gap. Lead runner on the mediums is Ulas Ozyildirim. And then you have the lead hard runner of Jake Benham with Tom Manley and Thomas Runner, the next cars after that now. Marcel Kiefer lunging down the inside of Benham into the last chicane here. They'll give each other racing room coming through. Benham not giving up the fight. They're so close on the exit. Marcel didn't quite have the grip to come out there. May have to have a look on the inside of La Source here with the DRS enabled, but no, he's going to be patient and wait for the DRS now. He's going to be very vulnerable down the straight here. The only car that doesn't have DRS at the moment really is Ulas, who is in P2.
Yeah, he does. He's 1.9 back on Longuet. Longuet trying to check out the soft tyres, doing so very well as well. Marcel Kiefer, he's also on a rise. Also on a rise is Jake Benham, who's looking to try and charge himself up the hill now. But as they now run up towards Les Combes, Kiefer right on the tail of the All-Star, who goes very defensive, heading through towards that section, heading through turns 5, now 6 and 7 as well. No move for Kiefer, very defensive here. We've got a huge scrap happening further down for 14th place. Seapos managing to get past that of Tom Manley, who I think has had a very, very difficult time dropping through the field exponentially, as now Kiefer dances around the outside. A superb move on Jake Benham.
What a move, Marcel Kiefer. Here comes Wotmere, surely not into Pouon, inside into Pouon, and he's got it done as he holds on, slides his way through the corner. How on earth has he held that together? That was sketchy, but he's got it done. Boorman goes with him, and Blakely also makes the move there. I think he might need some new underwear there. Jan Wotmere sideways through Pouon, up the inside, and now he needs to take a breath, I think.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jake Benham would not have been popular if Jan Wotmere barreled into the barrier. Could have been curtains for the young man. Brendan Lee currently on the tail now of Danny Berejnay, the former teammates from back in 2018 when Brendan Lee would take his 2nd F1 Esports title. Heading down now in towards bus stop. Wotmere now in 8th, chasing after Marcel Kiefer. Both Mercedes working in tandem, both on the soft tyres. They need to elevate themselves ASAP. They need to take advantage of the fact that they're on the faster tyre, because those around them can go that much longer. Brendan Lee on the mediums will have that tyre advantage, and we'll be hoping that Alfie Butcher and Freddie Rasmussen can cause a complication of sorts here, as now they make their way up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Wotmere now on the tail of Kiefer, as they now look to rise up the hill. It looks like Freddie is going to come under pressure from his former teammates at Red Bull, Marcel Kiefer as well. They make the climb up through towards Les Combes. Rasmussen still holding firm there in P6. You can see plenty of cars moving around up at the front end. Butcher there, further up is now Jake Benham. Oh, Donoso! Donoso's round 14th, now down to 17th. He's spun heading through Les Combes after coming together with Jake Benham, Jack Canal.
Oh, it goes from bad to worse for Fabrizio Donoso, doesn't it? Every week something seems to go wrong for him, and he's again having to climb back through and try to make something out of this. But unfortunate for him there, contact through the corner. While that was happening, Berejnay swapping with Ozyildirim down the straight, as you would expect. And yeah, you could just see it back on the replay. There was a little bit of side pod to tyre contact, and Donoso was unfortunate to get spun around in that. So Berejnay now in 2nd, Ozyildirim happy to sit in 3rd, Brendan Lee holding 4th place at the moment. Wotmere, Boorman and Blakely, of course, are his nearest rivals. They're 8th, 9th and 10th. But Blakely, of course, is on the mediums. They're on the same strategy. Kiefer Kiefer, Boremand and Otmir all on the softs as well. So they'll be trying to make more ground as they come through onto lap 4. But Nicholas Longe, I mean, he's done I don't think he could have had a more perfect race start than that. Everybody else fighting behind him. He got the perfect start, clear away, and has no trouble at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's looking very busy up in the midpoint of the top 10. Just got my eyes peeled here on Ulas Ozyuldrim. Still yet to move here on Berejnay, after Berejnay taking that P2 away from Ulas earlier on, though he is hovering all over the back of the Haas right now. Coming through Rouge and Radion now through towards Kemmel. There's a string of cars making their way through. Butcher now also going to look to launch a charge. Here comes Ozyuldrim, second place on the line as Berejnay cuts to the inside. Does so. Alfie Butcher as well, staying in 5th place, at least for now. Brendan Lee doing a great job of keeping his guards up while everything unfolds behind him. John Evans having a few problems. He's rejoining the session. Josh Edo sustains a 3-second time penalty. Lucas Blakely very busy. And have a look at this, Jack. The two championship protagonists in F1 Esports last season at McLaren, they're together again as well. 9 and 10th, Barry Burman, championship leader, with Lucas Blakely, the current F1 Esports champion, coming together here at Spa.
Yeah, these two know each other very, very well. Lucas Blakely and Barry Borman. You also got Jarno Otmir in front of these guys as well. So Lucas knows what he needs to. He knows that these guys are on a different strategy, so knows he'll gain the positions anyway after pit stops, but he has to watch his mirrors. For a certain Patrick Sipos, who's making good ground as well on those mediums, up behind the reigning F1 Esports champion now, up towards Blanchimont they come now. Blakely thought about it for a moment, but decides against it, coming up towards one of the fastest corners on the circuit as they came through there. He'll be patient. He won't make. We know he's very calculated with his overtakes, is Lucas Blakely, so he won't try anything untoward as Ronar makes another position, moves up to P12. Ronar's making very good ground here. P20 he started, and now he's actually up behind these guys. He's now the lead car on the hard tyre.
Yeah, he is. Brent, now it looks like Lucas Blakely. Oh, tap in the rear. Jarno Otmir gets a tap in the rear on that occasion from Barry Burman. Incredible stuff here. And Lucas Blakely now hovering all over the rear himself as well. Now challenging through Rouge and Radion with Jarno Otmir. They cruise on through a 3-car scrap. 3 of the championship contenders coming together as they make their way up through towards Lakon. Berejnay and Ozyuldrim swap, but still Otmir defending to the hilt. Gets himself through and defends the place against Barry Burman, who is now on the brink of losing a place to that of Patrick Sipos. Incredible moments in this race.
All of the PSGL champions just went wheel to wheel down the Kemmel straight there as they came into the corner, and again the tap in the rear from Borman ultimately has cost him the place. Otmir maintains P8, Blakely gains P9, Borman is now P10, and Sipos almost ended up in the mix there as well. He sent it down the inside of Borman at the end of the Kemmel straight, and now has to deal with Sipos now again, and Ronar's closing up now as well. P12 he is, and is closing up to the back now. The softs maybe starting to go off. Berejnay starting to gain on Longe at the top there. The gap was 2 seconds, it's now 1.5, so one's to watch there. But Sipos really wants to get past Borman here. He knows that he needs to go with Blakely. Really, if he wants a chance here up towards Blanchimont, he won't try it here, but he will think about it into the chicane, I think, as he comes around Blanchimont, tucked up right behind the Ferrari into the braking zone for the bus stop. He'll have a look, but doesn't quite have the space to go for it. Loses the rear, locks the rears going in there, right on the limit of the brakes, but has to sit behind for the moment. And it calms down once again as they cross the line, but I don't think we've seen that in a long time. Our 3 previous champions, 3 abreast down the Kemmel straight.
Unbelievable scene indeed, and a pleasure to watch as well in many ways, but still maybe a little overzealous of sorts, as now they make their way through a Rouge and Radion again, and Brendan Lee now with a chance here to lift his exploits further. Got himself ahead of Ulas Ozyuldrim already. Now looking to try and challenge Danny Berejnay. The 2 former teammates come together. Brendan Lee now up into 2nd place. Another man who's on the rise, Thomas Ronhard, breaks ahead there of Patrick Sipos. So that both Alfa Romeos coming together, but Sipos fighting back, not content with losing the place. Very nearly loses the car, however, heading through Malmedy, and still holding on to P11 is Thomas Ronhard. Massive moment again in the midpoint of the classification, but looking higher up, they're getting closer again. Kiefer and Otmir now only half a second behind Freddie still, despite Otmir's error after coming together with that of Blakely and Burman only a lap or so ago.
Yeah, you can see Rasmussen has been patient. He sat with the top guys here. He's known for this, alternate tyre strategies, and sticks with the top guys, but you can see Longue's tyres are going off now. 1.2 seconds is the gap. Brendan Lee holding second, and all he'll be thinking is, can you guys fight a bit more so I can pull away a bit more further back? So all of his championship rivals fighting with each other there, but now Longue within danger territory now of falling into the DRS of Brendan Lee down the straight here. He might just have enough to hold on here, but as you can see, he's been very patient out there on those soft compound tyres, and Brendan Lee is going to pit, so he's going to pit before Longue. He wants to get the undercut done here.
He's not alone either. In comes as well Ulassos Yildirim as well as Alfie Butcher. Now Ulassos Yildirim tends to pit extremely well as well. His strategy tends to be on point. I saw it through F1 Esports Challenges. If you tuned into that, Ulas was absolutely primed when it came to making tyre changes. I would imagine he'll have the same effect here in PSGL as well here tonight. Let's see if he can garner an improvement here. 3 cars already boxing off their compound of tyre. So there we have it. That is the decision those drivers have made. Mediums to hards at this point. So you could argue that's quite early for those on that compound. Kiefer now goes ahead of Freddie Rasmussen, with Jarno Opmeer as well in behind him, with Lucas Blakely also charging after the 2-time F1 Esports champion. Lucas himself a champion, the current one as well. Looking to chase for a second one in the incoming season that is due just around the corner very, very shortly, as now we're seeing them make their way through the next step to Jackie X, lap 8 of 22. The pit stops now encroaching. Now it's up to these guys to respond, Jack, and surely those on the softs are going to be looking to pit now rather than later on.
Yeah, very early call from Brendan Lee, but obviously the team will be thinking about that strategy, and we'll see if it works out for him. Of course, he managed to get clear, crucially, of Wilson Hughes there, who was fighting with Yildirim and Butcher on the way out through the top of Eau Rouge and Radion there. So he has a little bit of breathing space now. He's got clean air as well. That's crucial as well. He's got 9 seconds of clean air to try and push on here. So we'll see if anybody responds to the pit stop from Brendan Lee. You would expect, if anybody, surely Longue is going to come in now off those soft tyres, box off those soft tyres and try and cover off this, and he does indeed. He comes straight into the pit lane. Berezne is going to stay out obviously on the mediums. Kiefer is going to come in. He's the lead car, of course, and Boorman's going to stay out as Longue comes in, because of course he can't double stack there. It'd be very tricky for them. So now it's Berezne who leads, Opmeer is second, Blakely now third, but we now need to watch for Brendan Lee and Nicholas Longue and see if this undercut works for him.
Yeah, we certainly do. Brendan Lee just crossing the line now. Now, where is Longue? Still yet to leave the pit lane. This is going to be very close indeed. In fact, Brendan Lee just rounding La Source as we speak. And as he opens up now out of that corner, they're going to be wheel to wheel as they head up through towards Eau Rouge and Radion. They are literally tied together, splitting the two now as the Alfa Romeo sprints ahead. The Haas and the Ferrari in behind now, doing battle as Longue and Butcher come together. Enter Ulassos Yildirim too, as they now power their way up through towards Lakon, 3 wide, as now Ulas has the upper hand on Brendan Lee. Incredible scenes here as Ulassos Yildirim, net leader of the race here at Spa-Francorchamps, jumps out of Alfie Butcher, jumped out of Nicholas Longue. The biggest loser in all that, Brendan Lee, he lost 3 places in that fight.
He was the lead car at the bottom of Eau Rouge, and by the end of the straight, he was 4th in line. Ulassos Yildirim getting the job done, and now he takes what is the net race lead for the moment, but Longue has gone on the medium tyre compared to everyone else. The rest of these guys are all on hards, and Longue on the mediums. So let's see how that works out for them, but what a great move from Yildirim as they came down the straight. He was patient, held off, and then used the DRS to good effect and got himself by. Longue now comes out though in front of Brendan Lee, but I think Lee will be frustrated. Was out in front of everybody, had managed the undercut, but unfortunately with the DRS and the advantage of the cars behind, he managed to get out in front. Berezne now pits from those medium tyres, so now he's going to be trying to get in the mix of these guys as well. Blakely stays out, Opmeer staying out long on the soft tyres, it must be said. Boorman now coming into the pit lane from his soft tyres, so they're going to go onto the mediums. Of course, Barry Boorman go on the mediums. Danny has to go on the hards because he started on the medium tyre. So what is Mercedes thinking now with Opmeer? Of course, he went long last week as well, and it worked out towards the end. He wants that extra tyre grip, so we'll see how it works out. But Berezne is going to filter out behind all of these guys as well. This is going to be a spicy fight towards the end.
It certainly will be, and Alfie Butcher's on the tail of Ulassos Yildirim. These two know each each other very well. Of course, challengers, drivers. Butcher is now going to look to try and take the net race lead for himself as well. Longue throwing himself into the mix. He's going to split the difference. He's going to go down the inside. He takes the pair of them. Nicolas Longue with a stunning double overtake, heading through towards Les Combes. That was stunning.
Great move from Nicolas Longue. Of course, the medium tyres, he's making them work, but he's gone sort of alternate. He's gone with the strategy. Rasmussen's gone with the medium tyres as well. And these guys all opting for the hard compound tyres, but of course they've got a lap older hard tyres, so it might work out for them. But a great move from Nicolas Longue. So we're going to see plenty of that third in line with the slipstream. Seems to be the way to go down the straight, and Longue now moves back into what is the net race lead. Alfie Butcher net P2, Ozilderim net P3, Brendan Lee P4, Freddie Rasmussen though he sits now in what is a net P5. Danny Beresnay is there, Marcel Kiefer, Wilson Hughes in the mix as well, but of course he's on much older hard compound tyres. I think he had to pit on the first lap, so he'll have to come in later. Barry Borman has a lot of work to do from where he is, so we'll keep our eyes, but it seems to be now Jarno is going to come in off those soft tyres. He went much longer compared to everyone else, and he comes in now to get off those soft tyres. You can imagine he's going to go onto a set of what I would imagine will be the medium tyres. It is indeed the medium tyre for Jarno Montmere, so he'll have fresher tyres compared to everyone else. Blakely now out front on the mediums, and Thomas Ronner, who started on the hard tyres, now will stay out very long, of course, compared to everybody else, and he'll be pitting much later in this race. But he's kept it clean so far, kept his nose out of trouble, made good places, and we'll try and see if he can make up places later on. He'll be on much quicker tyres compared to everyone else, so it'll be an interesting watch later. Yeah,
Josh Ito also jumping up a couple of places. Tom Manley losing out again further down. They're all coming together as well in terms of the net race lead. Still Longue has that as well at this point. Certainly Barry Burman now jumping ahead of Wilson Hughes, of course former teammate at McLaren from last year, and now Burman moves up into 15th place and needs to get to work as well. Obviously on those medium tyres, only sustained a lap on them so far. Jarno Montmere fresh on his set of medium tyres, so expect him to be strong at the very end. Very aggressive strategy there from those that started on the softs and then pitting onto the mediums, Jack.
Yeah, it is, and we'll see how it works for those guys. But of course they'll have the extra tyre grip. Jarno, of course, went much longer last week and the tyres did work out in the end, but wasn't able to make up places in the last lap or two. But we'll see how he gets on from there. Blakely, Ronard, they'll be, of course, they've got a bit of a ways to go. Blakely has gone much longer compared to the other medium runners, so we'll see what he's thinking now. He's staying out again. Ronard going with them here out front. So Patrick Sipos as well, also on the mediums. Jake Benham, Josh Ito, Alvaro Caraton and Tom Manley. It's those top 7 who have yet to pit in this race. The rest have all been into the pits at least once, and I think by the looks of it, if any move is going to be made, it's going to be Thomas Ronnar and Lucas Blakely. Blakely's tyres starting to fall off a bit now, and Thomas Ronnar will now take the lead take the on-track lead at the very least here in Spa for the moment, and he moves in front of Lucas Blakely for the moment, and we'll see how things progress later on. Before the net battle, it's getting a little bit tight for space. Brendan Lee wants to gain places here, but is going to be patient, sit behind. Defensive line from Alfie Butcher, decides to stick it up the inside. He wants to lead for a little while. Yeah, great move indeed from Butcher, managing to move himself onwards and upwards, heading through Les Combes, and jumps himself ahead. Brendan Lee also chucking it up the inside into Ravage, coming close together with Ulas Ozilderim, basically throwing it back to him and saying, you have some back, he says. Makes his way up into P10 now, Brendan Lee, and still in the mix, certainly in terms of a race win. The cars up the road aren't too far ahead in terms of Alfie Butcher, now currently net leader of this race. Freddie Rasmussen also trying to jump himself up further. He's on certainly a fresh set of medium tyres, only 3 laps accrued. Danny Beresnay also might be someone to watch. 2 laps only accrued on his hard set. He's going to be taking notes right to the end. It's all a case of who can manage the tyres the best at this point, Jack. They would have ran the sims over this track time and time again. It's now down to whether they can certainly unlock some extra potential out of the compound they have currently enlisted on their chassis, as now they head down through towards Blanchimont, around in the next left. They've got bus stop now to come, as now they all come together. Into the pits comes Thomas Ronhar. He's going to be taking that set of hard tyres off.
no doubt replacing it for a set of the medium compound tyre, you would have thought. I can't imagine he would plumb for the soft. Maybe he will, I'm not quite sure. Just keeping your eyes peeled on the screens as to whether that, no, it is going to be indeed a set of medium tyres. They come through towards the source now, getting themselves away. Still, it's Alfie Butcher out in front, leading the way in terms of a net positioning on this circuit right now. But just look at the queue of cars behind him, Jack. So many of them have the ability to take that net lead away from him, and it looks like Nicolas Longuet is going to do that.
Yeah, no fight going to be put up by Alfie Butcher. Nothing he can do about it. Longuet moves back into the net race lead. Yildirim versus Brendan Lee, and now Brendan Lee thinking about it on Alfie Butcher at the same time. Can't quite get it done here, but very interesting. Their run are coming in, but Blakely and Sipos have not come in yet, and of course they started on those medium tyres. So are they thinking? Are they possibly thinking to go onto the soft tyre? How quick are they going to be later on if they can manage to do that, sticking it out there on those medium tyres? Jake Benham, Josh Ito may possibly be thinking the same thing, but it may be interesting to see if they do decide to do that. They still have 5 seconds back, 5 seconds or so back to Longuet here, as Yildirim really pushing Brendan Lee through Pouan right there. But interesting times here at the moment here at PSGL Spa. Lucas Blakely, Patrick Sipos, Jake Benham and Josh Ito are the only 4 cars who have not pitted in this race. Of course, if a safety car came out right now, it might be good for them, but we'll see how it goes for them now. But it's been green flag racing all the way through so far. Thomas Runner pitted onto the pits onto the mediums, comes out behind Jarno Walker by 2.5 seconds, and in comes Blakely, and will Sipos follow him in? He does, with Josh Ito, and will stay out. Benham comes into the pit lane now as well. So Blakely into the pits finally from what was the on-track victory, and we'll see now he's going to go on to a set of untimes, George, a red wall soft tyre.
Yeah, we have seen every strategy known to man in this race now, and we've got some battling as well on this circuit, because Danny Berejne, the old guard of F1 Esports, is Rasmussen and Danny Berejne coming together through a Rouge and Radion. Together they are. Now you see the Red Bull there with his front right tyre, hugging the rear left on Berejne's Haas, but now Berejne's going to fly against Ulas Yildirim, the Hungarian versus the Turkish Tornado, as they make their way up towards Lake Com. Ulas Yildirim with enough straight line speed to protect the position here at this point as well, as now Wilson Hughes forgoes that 13th place. Lucas Blakely hops ahead of Caraton as well as his current teammate Wilson Hughes. He leapfrogs into 12th on those soft tyres. He's going to be so quick, Jack.
He is, yes. Settle in for this charge from Lucas Blakely on soft. Sipos as well, going on the softs from here as well. But great stuff from those guys there. Danny Berejne, Freddie Rasmussen, absolutely side by side up Eau Rouge. Inches between them. But again, enough respect given. Not an ounce of contact made up towards there, but if there was, it was minuscule. Great to see between those two, but this is going to be exciting now. Lucas Blakely on the soft tyres. Let's see how much ground he can gain and see if this will work out for him. He's got there's still a little ways to go in this race. We're about to go on to lap 15 of 22. It's a long lap around here as well, don't forget, but it's still all up in the air as to who is going to take this now. Josh Ito, the last car to pit now, he'll go on to softs as well, which means now order is restored. Nicolas Longuet leads across the line on lap 15 of 22. He will take the net race lead. Alfie Butcher sits in second place. Brendan Lee is third. Yildirim fourth. Danny Berejne fifth. Freddie Rasmussen, Marcel Kiefer, Barry Borman, Jarno Walker, and now Thomas Ronner has worked his way into the points from last on the grid. What a job he's done so far today. Let's see if he can continue his charge up towards the front now. But we've got to keep an eye out for Blakely from on those soft tyres. Will it work or will it not? But Nicolas Longuet, he's been absolutely perfect so far this race. And compared to Alfie Butcher, Brendan Lee, Ulas Yildirim, he's got fresher tyres.
Yeah, he does. And I'm looking at that sharp
He's on the
end.
mediums.
Yeah, well, should I say, a huge fight up at the sharp end. Longuet on the mediums. He's trying to manage the pace right now, obviously trying to make sure those mediums can get to the end and have a reasonable amount of tread to defend against that of Alfie Butcher in second and Brendan Lee in third. Not to mention Ulas Yildirim, Danny Berejne on the youngest set of hard tyres in that top 5 scrap, as Josh Ito jumps ahead of Wilson Hughes in the classification as well. Freddie Rasmussen, I've been monitoring him as well, 6 laps on his medium tyres. He's going to look to try and sustain those. While Longuet's at the front, it's all the better for him. He can manage those medium tyres. He's got the clean air in front. The DRS could be a problem, but at the same time, if he can manage the pace, he might yet have a chance to bring this one home, but he's got to be wary about those behind, because Alfie Butcher, oh so quick, would love a chance at taking his very first PSGL race win this season, as well as Brendan Lee in behind, who's got a championship to fight for. Should it stay like this, Jack, this is a magical time to be Brendan Lee, because this will certainly shrink the points deficit between him and those higher above him in the championship classification.
Certainly will. So again, we know Brendan, he'll be thinking about the championship right now in P3. He needs to keep these podium streaks going, but can he hold on? Fastest lap of the race for Patrick Sipos in P12. So those two working with each other. The gap is coming down. They're chipping away at 2.7 to Ronar at the moment. So we'll see now if they need to close up to this top 10 battle even at the start here to try and do something on those soft tires. Now this could get spicy here. Illustrious Yildirim trying to go for the move on Brendan Lee. He should get the move done here into the braking zone. Beresnay has to back out of it, had to lift off, still side by side between Yildirim and Brendan Lee. Beresnay trying to find a bit of room to work with here. Yildirim holds the position and moves into P3 as they drop down into the braking zone. Now Rasmussen looking for a move on the outside here. Can he find a room? No, he can't. The camber not helping him on that occasion. So as Yildirim moves into P3 now, Longue still holding on out front here. He's done this before. He was in this position in Japan. He knows what to do in this position.
Yeah, he certainly does. So Freddie Rasmussen very on point right now on those medium tyres. With lap 16 of 22, he might choose to now bring down the attack. He needs to try and jettison himself higher and higher in amongst these cars that currently sit in Ps 2, 3 and 4, as well as Danny Beresnay, who's going to be a very tricky customer to fight. Obviously they know each other very well. They've been in the world of F1 esports for such a long time, at the very least since 2018, where Rasmussen would begin his F1 esports campaigners career, being part of the Red Bull family as he has been ever since, has been outside the top 3 in the championship since 2019, as now we're seeing some swarming around further back. Barry Burman with an essential move, and they've collided with Freddie Rasmussen. They've come together. Barry as a result losing out, and he also tagged Jarno Otmir. Ronha has moved up to 8th place, Jack.
Ronar's going to dive down the inside of Otmir. There's contact made through the corner. Otmir side by side with Jarno Otmir. Now there's history between these two. Down towards Eau Rouge they go. More contact made between Barry and I think it was Freddie. Freddie was the poor innocent victim, it looked like, from our screens there. We might have a look at it later on, but Ronar on the attack now down the straight towards the end of the Kemmel straight versus Jarno. Up towards the break until they come. Rasmussen looking forward as well as they jettison down towards the braking zone. Any moves being made? No, there isn't, but that was a bit spicy into the braking zone there. Otmir and Ronar, and as well poor old Freddie Rasmussen. He seemed to get a tag from behind, and just like that, 3 positions lost, and all of a sudden enter Lucas Blakely.
Yeah, I tell you what, Jack, 11th place and on the tail of Freddie Rasmussen, and I get the feeling that's going to be an easy dispatch. Freddie Rasmussen's race is essentially, with that move alone, has been turned upside down. He is now the weakest of the medium runners. Everyone above him has younger medium tyres at this point now, as Blakely up the inside heading through Lafanier gets himself ahead there of Freddie Rasmussen. He's in the top 10, Jack.
He went round he seemed to go around the outside of Freddie on the exit of Pouon. He's got that much more grip. Here comes Lucas Blakely. He's on the charts. Now Sipos is trying to go with him as well. Here comes Patrick Sipos. Past Freddie Rasmussen. Nothing the Dane can do about that. And now he's relegated out of the points all of a sudden. Blakely on the outside of Blanchimont on Barry Borman. Surely not on the grip on the outside. He's got the grip to do it though. Blakely round the outside of his old teammate in Blanchimont. He loves a spectacular overtake, and that was one of them.
That was a special move there from Lucas Blakely. Those soft tyres now going to work here with only a matter of 4 laps to go. 5 if you include this one, and naturally where all the cards are stacked, Blakely in the top 9 with every chance here to upset the balance of this race in a mere moment, as then they make their way through towards Eau Rouge and rally on. Marcel Kiefer and Jarno Otmir, they're bound together with Ron Haar in behind. There is one there in Papaya. Lucas Blakely looking to charge as well. Brendan Lee also looking to rise himself back into the podium places. The battle for the win is on. Oh, Brendan Lee sends it up the inside of Ulas as they look to come wheel to wheel, heading through Mount Many. Contact again, the finest amount, but still enough nevertheless. Great racing between those in the top 5. Sensational. Brendan Lee doing enough as Sheepos now battles it out with Barry Burman.
Oh, Sipos says he had an issue. He has. Sipos is off in Brussels. What a shame. It's come to an end. The charge of Sipos comes to an end after contact, but Blakely is still on the charge here. What a drive this is from Lucas Blakely now on the attack on Ronar. And again, it's side by side between Ronar and Otmir through the Lefania chicane. Otmir not giving an inch there. Blakely gets caught in the middle here. This is incredible scrapping between these guys. Blakely finds the gap, sends it down the inside, and that's another position made, but he gets a time penalty. That's not what he needs. 3-second time penalty for that. It seemed to look like he get a warning on the way through there, but of course we have to take that with a pinch of salt. But he's going for the outside again. Blakely on the outside of Otmir. He's got it done before the corner, but it is brave stuff going on right here as they enter onto lap 19 of 22. You cannot take your eyes off anything as Ronar and Otmir are still going at it into the chicane here at the end of the lap, side by side coming down into the braking zone. Issues for Danny Beres now. He's lost connection to the session, but Otmir and Ronar are scrapping and dueling it out into turn one still.
Well, we have seen battles between these two time and time again. We spoke about the battle for Dutch supremacy at Imola last week, but they return here this time. Beresnay currently ghosted due to the fact that he's having an issue. Otmir now looking to try and challenge here on Thomas Ronha. The contention between these two current F1 esports professionals make their way now up through the Camel Straight. They come together wheel to wheel again, heading up through towards Lake Com. Otmir with an absolutely sensational move round the outside of Lake Com. He left it late on the brakes, primed them at the ready, and Otmir with an OP move as Ronar looks to challenge down the inside. Ronar is spun! Ronar is spun! He is spun here at the Rivage section.
Oh, carnage behind as they all stack up there. Ronar tried to send it on the brakes. There wasn't room to do it, and he has to now get a knock out of the points. What a scrap that was, and his elbows out all the way through. But Jarno holds the position, and we'll see if that carries on as Rasmussen gets by Barry Borman now as well, who seems to be in a bit of trouble now as he comes through the corner. But while all that's been happening, it's still Longe in the lead of this race. There's so much going on in this race as they come through. Borman desperately trying to hang on to points here. He's still the championship leader. Ronar pulling off to the side of the road, letting everyone through. I think he's given up the fight here, and that was interesting there as they came into one of the corners there. But there's still plenty happening. Caraton is now in the mix of this as well, trying to get into the points at the same time. But going on to this next lap, lap 19 of lap 20 of 22, Longe in the lead, Butcher second, Ozilderim in third, Brendan Lee is still fourth, and Blakely is not far behind. But of course that 3-second penalty, and Ronar for his sins again gets a 5-second penalty and ends up after all of that out of the race.
That's a retirement there for Thomas Ronha, but the battling still starts to brew. Brendan Lee and Marcel Kiefer come together this time. They've still got two Mercedes in the top 10. A huge scrap here as well. Alfie Butcher trying to put the pressure on Longe, but Kiefer now moves into fourth ahead of Brendan Lee as they now look to poleaxe their way now through Malmedy. It is now a case of Ferrari, Haas, Williams, Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, McLaren, every single constructor you can think of up in the top 6. Absolutely mesmeric scenes here at Spa-Francorchamps. Marcel Kiefer dispatching the two-time world champion in his continuous rise for brilliance here in PSGL. He is on that rise yet again, and now spies Ulas Ozilderim and Alfie Butcher ahead of him. Could be another podium here for Kiefer here, Jack.
Could very well be. He did it last time, didn't he? But of course Lucas Blakely is charging behind, and of course he could have that penalty removed in the stewards room afterwards, so we have to keep an eye on that as well. Everybody can have penalties removed if, of course, it was an unfair one given by the game. We'll see. But Brendan Lee, he needs to be thinking about the championship now, of course. Otmir's closing up to him. Borman's still in the points, but maybe for not much longer. We'll see as they come down towards the break zone. Lap 21 of 22. Despite all of that happening, it's still Nicholas Longe in the lead. Caraton swaps with Borman. Ido's trying to get through as well, so there may be even more position losses. Borman possibly having a bit of damage on his car, but Blakely at the same time on Brendan Lee now trying to get through. Otmir fancies a chance at this as well. Down towards turn one. Blakely has the overspeed, has the tyres, will get in front of the brakes, and Otmir finds a little gap to try and sneak down as well. These are championship contenders, don't forget. This could be crucial later on. Blakely makes the move, but this is not what he wanted to see, Brendan Lee. He did not want to see Otmir right behind him.
Yeah, we have got a sequence of champions. Lucas Blakely, 1 time. Brendan Lee, 2 time. Jarno Otmir, 2 time. They're now going to challenge each other, heading up through towards Lake Com. We got movements further up. A battle for the lead. It's Alfie Butcher. The carving knife comes down upon Nicolas Longuet, who is now pushed down into third place. Ulasas Yildirim now up to second. Another sterling performance from the Turkish Tornado, who now sees himself in second place and challenging the best of them. Two young stars, fresh from F1 Esports Challengers, up in the sharp end and challenging Jack Canaan. This is racing. This is PSGL.
Alfie Butcher could be on the way to his first victory, but he's got to now think about conserving those tyres, conserving that battery, and try and use it up towards the end of this race. Now, he's got 70% ERS, he has been saving, so we'll see. Does he want to be the lead car? Does he want to be the third car in line like previous? Bowerman is continuing to fall down the order here. He's not going to score any points, so even more. It's going to be even more points gained for our championship contenders here as now Longuet charging up to Yildirim. He's going to go around the outside of Blanchimont. Surely not here. We've seen this before, but Nicolas Longuet side by side with Yildirim to Blanchimont corner. Neck and neck they go. Yildirim just gives him just enough room. Longuet can't find the space. They need to be patient. If they fight too hard, they'll lose track of the Butcher out front. It's the final lap here at Spa.
Certainly is. Lap 21 of 22 soon becomes lap 22 of 22. The penultimate lap turns into the final lap, and it's Alfie Butcher in the lead of this race. Ulasas Yildirim in second place, with Longuet waiting in the wings in third, in behind Kiefer, spying every opportunity, but they all come here to dance up through Rouge and Radion. Longuet looks close enough to strike. Can he get that burst of speed that he rightly so needs? Makes his way around the outside now. It's a Frenchman who charged himself up through to second. He was a race winner in Japan. He's now being fought again by Ulasas Yildirim. Longuet holds on, but he sustains a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner, and that might be debated by the stewards. But as they make their way through Rivage, it's Alfie Butcher with all the fighting in that second place. He's been alleviated from any pressure. There's a little breathing space. As long as he can manage this right now, he will have his very first PSGL PCF1 race win, Jack Canaan.
What a story that'd be if Alfie Butcher manages to hang on to this here, and that now maybe reviewed in the stewards, that little instant between Longuet and Ulash, he may have that penalty removed, so it still could be P2 here, but crucially Opmeer made the move on Brendan Lee, so he manages to now outscore Brendan. Bowerman is in the points in P10, but it'd still be an overall gain in the championship here. But on the way towards the line here, this has been a hell of a story all day long, and this man, it's been an up and down week for him, but today he's put on a good show, hasn't he? Into the final chicane for the final time of asking, and for the first time ever, coming up to the line, Alfie Butcher is a PSGL PCF1 winner. He wins in Spa for the first time ever. Yildirim, with Longuet's penalty applied, becomes second, and provisionally, once again, Marcel Kiefer scores himself a third place finish. Yarnock provisionally fourth, Brendan Lee fifth, Longuet sixth, Blakely with the penalty is seventh, Benham is eighth, Rasmussen ninth, and Bowerman finishes just about in the points in P10. But what a story. Alfie Butcher for the first time ever, another first time winner in PSGL.
Magic, absolutely magic. And I tell you what, just looking at that classification there, Jack, the championship has never been tighter. Though Alfie Butcher, we've got to talk about him. Dominant in F1 Esports Challenges this year, dominated the PC division. He is just dominated here at Spa as well, with a sensational race win here. And I have to tell you, it was well managed. A great race. He has had some stick due to some of the moves he has made. Of course, coming a cropper in Japan after colliding and DNFing with Danny Berejnay. He is now looking to prove the doubters wrong, has taken victory here at Spa, and that is certainly the way to be, the way to start. He now will celebrate, no doubt, on the top step of the podium, though credit again, Jack, back-to-back sterling performances from Ulasas Yildirim. He has been absolutely fantastic, though I must say I think the stewards are going to be busy with that one, especially after that battle with Longuet on the final lap.
Yes, absolutely. I feel that I think if any penalty might be removed, it might be Longuet's. It seemed to me, it seemed initially that there wasn't enough space for Longuet to hold his car on the track there, but we'll see. The stewards are going to be busy, I think, but what is undisputed for the moment, Alfie Butcher, for the first time, is a winner in PSGL. What is it about Spa and first-time winners. We had it with Istvan Pukki last year, and Alfie Butcher is the next one to get on top there. Ozildirim provisionally is second, once again on the podium. Either way, Marcel Kiefer provisionally on the podium. Jarno Wotmir is currently P4. Brendan Lee P5. Longe with his penalty, but we think that could be removed, is going to be P6 after that. Blakely P7. Of course, he also had a penalty as well. Jake Benham, Freddie Rasmussen, and Barry Borman, who just scores 1 championship point here. So whether Longe's penalty gets removed or not could be telling for the championship, because according to my calculations, George, if it stays that way, championship gap is reduced to 1 point.
Goodness me. And like I said, never been tighter, Jack. And we love championship fights. We love tight, contentious battles. This, though, no doubt, Jack, the biggest title battle ever I think we've had in PSGL PC F1. We're coming down now to the final echelons. I want to go back and take a look at a moment that we, of course, have got to pull up. I mean, this incredible contentious fight between that of Otmir and Thomas Ronhaar again reared its head yet again. Of course, we saw this bit where, of course, Ronhaar would come into contact, spinning, then heading through Rivage. It was a sterling moment, sterling battle between those two, but I can only imagine there were a few words said under each other's breath. Maybe a bit louder than that.
Quite possibly, yeah. So I think there will certainly be probably some words in the stewards' room afterwards. But it seemed to me that's also where Barry's race came undone, because I think he was the one who went into Ronhaar as well. So I would imagine that was damage for Barry Borman. So if he manages to stay P10 and at least get a point out of this, I think he'll be somewhat pleased. But it's been 2 torrid races for Barry Borman. Again, 2 Q2 eliminations, and he only just about, again, it was no points last week. It might just be a solitary championship point. And for the moment, he still, if it stays the current result, he still just about has the championship lead, but now Jarno's a point behind him. Yeah,
which throws up a very interesting fight coming into the latter stages. And naturally, I think we've got 2 races left now before the end of the season. So, you know, that is going to be clinical. We're on the run-up to F1 Esports now. Plenty of big if, buts, maybes, questions. Obviously, we arrived into this one, you know, with 4 cars in the mix. I would still say we've still got 4 cars in the mix. It's just the gaps have now shrunk.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how close everything is, but you're starting to see protagonists come out. Longe looking more comfortable than he has. Kiefer has definitely found his stride. That's 2, at least if he doesn't finish P3, it's still a 3rd and a 4th. That could be on the way for Marcel Kiefer. He'll be very happy with that, but still very much a championship fight in our hands, the closest one we've ever had so far. I'm currently with the points tally that I've very quickly calculated and scribbled on a sheet of paper. Barry is on 63. Jarno, if he keeps P4, is on 62. And Brendan, with him finishing where he did, would be on 57. So very, very close.
Yeah, it is very tight, and I think this is exactly what we want where it comes to league racing. If there's one thing the handling model has done, it has delivered us certainly some better league racing in terms of the overtakes, the battles, the challenges. It's allowed the drivers, I think, to be a little bit more cavalier when it comes to some moves, but I think at the same time, whilst we do get those errors creep in, drivers are going to have to perhaps adjust their styles a little bit. We have seen that from time to time. I think Alfie, I think judging from what we saw today, I think he's definitely put some work in. I mean, he's had a lot of scrutiny over the last few weeks, and this is the perfect response, isn't it? Because you've got to be able to redeem yourself somehow, and I think today, I think he has in many ways.
Yeah, I didn't see. Of course, we'll know afterwards if there's any steward inquiries. But from our point of view, we didn't see anything from Alfie Butcher today, and he certainly responded in probably the best way possible by taking a victory. But it certainly, if nothing else, has given us one of the most intriguing title battles in PSGL history.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I'm pleased to be joined here by Alfie Butcher as well, race winner here, and once again another first here in PSGL as well. The man fresh from challenges after dominating that season on the PC platform. You've now come here to Spa and you've delivered yet another sterling result here, Alfie. You must be delighted.
Yeah, it feels like a long time coming. Done quite a few PSGL races and obviously yet to have a win. We've had some good results and podiums, but yeah, it doesn't quite feel the same as this.
No, I can't imagine it does. I mean, there is somewhat, I mean, I appreciate that in comparison to F1 esports, it may not carry the same weight in many ways, but in many ways it does it not? I mean, I would say PSGL itself, you know, as a league, it has a history of establishing who could become the next champion in PSGL. In your eyes, does this put a big, you know, sort of undermark under your name as a potential star for the future? Because that was a splendid performance out there tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing, keep it up, and keep improving day by day. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've had your struggles over the last recent weeks. You've received lots of scrutiny on social media. I know it's been challenging. Have you been working hard to battle all that, or is it just a case of just trying to blank all that out and just move on with your race?
Yeah, it's more of it's just trying to get around it instead of like verbally responding to it. It's more just to bounce back and show them what you actually can do. And yeah, I think I did just that today.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a key point of the race where you felt that you had the race won, or was it just a case of, you know, I'm not even going to start thinking about that, I'm just going to get towards the line?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't want to get too ahead of myself, but either way I would have been happy with the result, and I think being on that podium is enough, but obviously the race win feels even better.
Yeah, I think it does so indeed. Well, congratulations on a fantastic result, Alfie. Wish you all the very best for the future. I'm sure we'll see you back here, I'd imagine, next week potentially. But yeah, stellar performance. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alfie. Race winner, of course, here tonight. We're now joined as well by Ulas Ozyildirim. And Ulas, 1 week on from your stellar race at Imola in your debut this season, you've returned again. And I must say, another great performance. You're essentially 2 podiums out of 2 races this season. That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it's not bad for me, especially after such a long time. It feels good to be back on the top in the F1. I mean, we are practicing so hard for it, so it's paying off for us at the moment. We are really happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a busy time for you as well, because obviously ESL winter season is just around the corner. You've had to split your attentions, I know, from different things, and coming off the back of Gamers 8, you've obviously had to adjust back into the F1 side of things. How difficult has that practice been?
How difficult it was? In the first 3 or 4 days, it was really difficult. Like, I was struggling to get up to the pace. But after some time you get used to it, so you can get up to the pace quickly. So I can do both of them at the same time. Normally, like, if I do 3 hours of F1, I go to transport, I play 2 hours, and I am back on the pace. So I'm really happy with that. I don't need to pay attention too much to the one sim, so it's good for me.
Yeah, is there much you can carry over from Reg Sport into the F1 game? Because I must say, you're on the pace straight away. I think everyone could speak the same and say, you know, Ulas has really performed. I mean, we've seen you in the past race on the game, but I would say you've upped it a level, I would say, in recent times. Can you talk us through a little bit of that?
Yeah, I gained so much experience from the LAN at Gamers 8. Like, I raced with very great people, good people. I learned so much with that. In the LAN experience, so I can now perform under the pressure. Like, I can do the laps I want under the pressure, so it's paying off a lot in the home. Like, when you can do the lap you do at the practice, it's already in the top, so when I do that, it's good for me all the time.
Yeah, definitely did seem that way. Obviously now looking ahead, a few races to come. If you get your spot again in PCF1, do you see yourself again performing at the top? Is this something you can carry the momentum onwards and upwards for?
Yeah, hopefully I can carry the momentum and be in the upfront again in the next races if I get a seat. So I will practice hard for it again.
Brilliant stuff. Well, we wish you all the very best for the future. Yet another great podium. Congratulations, Ulas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulas Ozyildirim. 2nd place here tonight, and yet another podium to his name as well. Though I will say this, folks, all results provisional at this point as we await the stewards' decisions on various things. But still, nonetheless, we have got a couple of races still to come, Jack, and plenty to look forward to as well for those PSGL fans out there. And I'm sure there's many of you that enjoy tuning in week after week. We love having you here, by the way. Obviously, Jack, I'm going to ask you the ominous question here, and I think I'm going to ask the chat exactly the same thing. Chat, get involved on this. Who's going to be the PSGL PCF1 champion? Send your votes in. Jack, who's it going to be?
Oh, that's such a hard question with how the races have gone. Because had you asked me a couple of races ago, I'd have gone Barry easily. But now, it's very tricky. It's very tricky to find. It's very tricky to decide. But for me, consistency-wise, I'm probably gonna have to go with Jarno on this. I think because he's consistent point scorer. He's closed the gap slowly, but I'm happy to be proven wrong because at this point it's anybody's really. But I can tell you, it's getting heated in the stewards' room at the moment. There are a lot of words being exchanged. I can tell you, Ronar and Otmir are going at each other's throats.
I'm not surprised.
Longe is having a go at Ulas, and it just I would say if there's a time to follow the PSGL socials to find out the stewards' decisions, I think now is the time.
Well, we're just taking a look back at some of the moments where, of course, we saw Otmir and Ronha come together. This, of course, being the catalyst heading through Rivage, that essentially leading to the dramatic moment that, of course, we're witnessing in the stewards' room right now. So lots going on. And like Jack said, I highly implore you to stay tuned in to the social medias, folks, at PremierSimGL on Twitter and Instagram, as well as TikTok. You'll get the results up to date on that of Twitter, so stay onto the platform as well. Don't forget to stay updated by hitting the subscribe button as well on this channel, not to mention leaving a like so you get updated as soon as we go live here on YouTube. If you want to check me out as well, guys, my name is, of course, George Morgan. I've been one of two of your commentary team here tonight. You can find me at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I suppose we start calling it X rather than Twitter. I'm not sure whether that's right, but yeah, you know, X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. At George Morgan TV on all those platforms as well. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. It's all over the place. It's the same name anyway. Jack, do you want to share your socials as well, sir?
Absolutely. So if you want to, if again these beautiful graphics that we've got my Twitter or X handle, whatever it is, underneath at JackCComs there, at Jack_Kanan on Instagram. And because you guys have been shouting at me this stream, I promise I'm going to wear something outrageous next stream. It mightn't be.
That's
what
your
you
homework,
want,
Jack. That's your homework for next week.
That's my homework. But for reference, I came in the door from work and jumped straight on commentary. So appreciate the dedication, guys, please.
Yes. I mean, I do appreciate you guys at home as well. And we do appreciate all the lovely things you say. We do see some of the ugly stuff as well that you guys say. But nevertheless, we do it because we love it, don't we? But I'm seeing a lot of comments here, Jack, in the live chat. Quote of the day. Do you know what that means?
Oh, your quote of the day. I think
my
they're
quote
asking.
of the day.
Is there an inspirational quote that you've got?
Don't eat yellow snow, Jack. That is my quote of the day. Don't do that. If some of you want to, educate me as to what the quote of the day thing is, that would be very useful. Some of you seem to be posting that quite a lot. But yes, make sure you check out the standings and stay up to date with everything that's happening here on PSGL. Guys, it's been a privilege. We're looking forward now to the closing stages of this championship fight. There are plenty more to come. Though we only have a couple of rounds left, the action will not stop. We've got plenty more to come. Stay tuned in. Don't miss a thing. We'll be back next time as well. From me, George Morgan, and him, Jack Kanan, as well. We'll see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. All here is through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Otmir now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Otmir wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my phone, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose